my god, I just forgot. Me too!
We're starting here.
Yeah, that feels appropriate, actually.
She's
Hi,
gonna-
welcome back to Splice and
Hi.
Splatter. That's what we usually do first. Welcome back to Splice and Splatter, a film podcast presented by us. We're classic horror.
He's modern gore.
We're
And
your
here we
hosts.
are.
I'm Siena. Here
I'm
we are.
Al.
It's all happening, everybody. We both just almost missed the recording for various reasons, but we're here. And it's it's so appropriate for what we're covering because we're covering torture porn. So we're torturing ourselves in the process.
Truly, yeah. Not that I ever sound like I feel like it's it's late, but I am on the verge of a migraine. So if I sound like I feel like last episode I sounded like I was taking uppers, getting through because I couldn't catch my breath. And this one should be the opposite. So
I love that. Yeah, I'm
you know?
I'm gonna try to speak in my best Jigsaw voice so that I don't speak too high and aggravate Al's headache.
Oh my god, I actually would love for so many different reasons if you did that, because that would be really soothing. He has a very
Great.
soothing voice.
He kind of does, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. But yeah, I'm so excited to be covering these two. These have been, I think, since again, these are day one films.
Absolutely. And I had not seen either of them. I know you'd seen both of them.
Oh yes.
I had not been dreading mine. I had been dreading yours. I don't think that's probably going to be a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I've talked to you about usually gore for the sake of gore is not really my thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We've
And
talked about that a lot.
I don't hate gore in principle. It's I
Mhm.
get frustrated when if there's too much of it for no purpose, quote unquote.
Right.
I get bored by it. But so
Sure.
I'd been expecting that to happen with these, and
Yeah.
instead I'm do I love torture porn?
Oh my gosh, really? I was expecting you to be like, Al, we got to give this 2 more years before we cover something like this again.
No, I was even thinking to myself
Wow.
right before getting on, I was I think Saw might be the first horror movie franchise where I've watched the first and actually thought I'm interested to see where they could go from here.
Oh man, the second one has some good moments too. So I would say, if anything, at least dip a toe
I think
in
I'm
the
on
needle
board.
pond
Yeah.
of the second one. It
Dip a
has some
sawed-off
good.
foot.
Yeah, I would say that really excites me actually.
Yeah, I think we need to cover some more Saw. I think I'm on board fully. We'll get to it. But I actually really liked both of ours. I liked this more than
Really?
any other Eli Roth I've ever seen too for yours.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I don't even know. I'm so happy.
I'm
yeah,
who am I? But
yeah,
I was
truly
delighted by both of them on many different levels. So I'm really
Oh, I can't wait to
excited dive
hear
in.
as we
Yeah.
move. I was gonna say, if it makes you feel better too. I never thought I would be, a Dario Argento goblin music person,
This
and
is
I saw
true.
a goblin vinyl the other day, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know which one it was. Don't ask me, but I want to go back and get it, and I want to
Yes.
play goblin music. So I would say I love that the two of us, and I think that's the fun of this is,
I know. We're
you know,
rubbing
we're
off on each other.
yeah, we're rubbing off, and hopefully we're rubbing off on all of you guys too.
Mhm.
I think that's the fun thing is, you don't necessarily have to like a certain thing we sit here and appreciate it no matter what. So I
Yeah.
love hearing that, because I feel like that's a win for me
It is.
today.
I feel like you've built me up to this so well with showing me House of Wax and stuff
We
before
did it, guys.
this. Yeah. I
We
was
did
so
it.
prepared. I came to this at the exact right moment to be fully on board. I also have written at the top of my notes that we have to call this the Hostel episode. That's
Oh my gosh,
the combined
perfect.
name. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm fully on board for Hostel.
Oh, yes. Oh my god. I'm where do we even begin?
I
It
know.
can't go up from here, because I was really interested to see your response to these, because both these films, like you said, I have seen. These are actually 2 films, Hostel being the first. I saw Hostel in theaters, and this kind of Hostel was really the movie that got me into my love of horror. So my mom showed me the black and white films, and I obviously loved The Birds and Psycho, and kind of a lot of these classics. Children, what is it? Village of the Damned, and
Yeah.
I fly. But Hostel I saw in theaters and was like, this can be horror? Like,
Oh, I
this is
love
a genre?
that.
And then I had a friend lend me, by that time, I believe like two of the first and second Saw were out, and I borrowed them on DVD. And so these two films kind of are where like what made me, I feel
I
like.
love
So
this. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I'm glad we
Yeah,
paired them together.
this is we really came to it at the exact right moment, at least from my
Yeah.
perspective. Like,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it was so fun to revisit. So I don't know if you have a tidbit for us if we want to kick off
I
or if you're
have
saving it.
I have two mini tids and a dumb bonus not a tid. Um
Where would
so
you like to place those?
they're each just one sentence, so we can do all
Oh,
three.
amazing. Oh my god,
The
amazing.
first, I wanted to like tying the two of them together. I'm sure
Mhm.
you encountered this as well, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that James Wan and Eli Roth were both called members of the Splat Pack.
Yes, oh my god, you just brought back I totally forgot about that. 'Cause, yeah,
I
splatter films.
Yeah, and I'd never encountered that term before, and it was just like the
Oh my
Splat Pack. We've
god.
got to
Can
start
we be part of
there.
it, Sienna?
I know. Form our own Splat Pack.
Can we oh
Wait,
my god,
wait,
do you guys
wait.
wanna be the Splat
Hold
Pack?
on. Yeah, that's what fans are. They're the
Are you
Splat
guys
Pack.
do you guys like that? Can you
Oh my god,
DM
I
us and let
love
us
that.
know? I
Yes,
actually
thumbs
wanna
up, thumbs
know.
down, because like
Can we
I
steal
think
that
that's
from
really
them?
cute. Yeah.
Are we
But like
allowed?
you all, like the listeners are the Splat Pack. I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh. Oh, that's so
Oh,
good.
that's really
That's a
good.
good
I'm a
one.
fan. Okay. So that's
Thank
first
you.
mini tid. Second mini tid, I think again a lot of people know this, so because it's short and sweet, I wanted to put it up
Mhm.
front. James Wan made the original puppet himself. Out of paper mache with ping pong balls for eyes, but like he constructed the entire thing himself.
Oh,
It
I
was
love him.
birthed by his own hand. And my dumb bonus naughted, which I have to admit, embarrassingly, is like the thing that I've prepared the most for this episode and
Oh,
still feel
funny.
the least prepared for. But I'd forgotten that because, well, so both James Wan and Winnell are Australian, and I'd forgotten about
Mm.
this. And I had the horrible thought come to me as I was reading about this that it's actually sore.
Sore. It's oh my god,
Sore.
our sorry to our Australian listeners. Oh my god, it's sore.
It's sore. Oh no, it's sore.
I love the Australian I love that honestly, I hate the, like, American English accent,
Oh, our accent's disgusting.
any
Yeah,
region
it's
of the
they're all
country.
terrible.
Gosh, I love the Australian accent for that reason, so shout out to Australia for
Shout out
that
to
one.
Australia, shout out
Oh
to
my
sore.
god, sore. That's so good.
I was like
That's
so
so
worried about
fun.
I like spent like a half an hour yesterday with Dana just sitting there going back and
You're
forth like
just in the
sore,
mirror.
sore, sore.
You
Like
almost have to not think about it, yeah, you're, like, in the
yeah,
mirror.
truly.
I love that. Hopefully we probably butchered those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm so
I
sorry, Australia.
have so many, like, names in the cast of mine that I was like, I've been practicing and I apologize in advance. I'm never good at this anyways. And then we have a lot of names didn't have vowels in it. So I'm just like,
Oh
well, we're
gosh.
gonna say
Oh
that.
my
So
god, yeah, because it probably shot somewhere in Eastern Europe, right?
yes, it's like all like Czech,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Prague. It was a lot of the
Oh
crew,
yeah,
which we don't talk
that's
about, but most of the crew, if you watch the credits at the end, are,
mm-hmm.
and it was actually I loved reading everybody's names. It's I love me and
I
you
know
love
they were
watching to
so
the end of the
beautiful.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of difficult to
Yeah.
pronounce for
Yeah.
an American English speaker names in there.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have a tid?
I have a tid that kind of like leads
Yes.
us in. So
Oh
if
my
we're
God,
ready to kind of lead
perfect.
in,
Please.
it kind of rolls off of yours. So like you said,
Off
the
of
splat
sore?
yeah, off of Sore. Off of Australia, Sore. No, off of the Splat Pack. So obviously splatter films is a subgenre we're all very familiar with. It's Texas
Hmm.
Chainsaw, it's all the things, which was coined by George Romero from Dawn of the Dead. But
Love.
it wasn't until Hostel came out and film critic David Edelstein actually labeled that film torture porn and kind of retroactively applied it to Saw that Hostel was the first official torture porn genre given film,
Oh
which
my
I didn't
God.
realize it was the one. I thought it was Saw, if anything.
Right. I love this because I also, when we get to my section, start like with stuff about the label of torture
Yeah.
porn.
Oh,
So yeah.
great. So you can put a pin in that for Siena's half because
Yes.
I did not go into it, but I
No,
always
that's
thought it
so
was Saw.
interesting. And I didn't know that I didn't know it was retroactive like that. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
fascinating.
they just kind of put it back on stuff, and I believe the article, where he goes in depth is from a January 26th, 2006 article for the New York Times.
Interesting.
I believe that is where it is in specifically. They talk about Devil's Rejects, Saw, Wolf Creek,
Mm,
obviously,
mhm, mhm,
films we've covered. So I
mhm.
had no idea. I always thought Saw was kind of our gateway, but because they were so close in time, it was Hostel,
Fascinating.
and then it was given to Saw. So
Oh
our
my
two little
god.
buddies.
I am so excited for this.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, torture porn. Boy, oh boy. I have some taglines naturally
yes.
for us.
Oh, this one's got to have some wild ones, I'm sure.
You would you would think they're pretty
Oh
good, to
no.
be fair. We have they're fine actually. I always think they're like better than they are, and then I like get to saying them aloud, and I'm like, oh, maybe taglines
Retract,
should not be read
retract.
aloud. Yeah. So we have a very classic "Welcome to Your Worst Nightmare."
Mhm.
It's fine. A Chinese release poster, translated said, "What's the worst that could happen?" Which I think is a really
Ooh,
good
that's
one.
a
I love
good
a kind of
one.
a question of like, oh God.
Mhm.
We've talked about it before. Kind of your imagination makes the worst case scenario versus what could be
Absolutely.
written.
Yeah, that's really
We
good.
yeah, we have a very long one, which is 10,000 people are killed in America every year. Over 2,000 with firearms. Americans, they have no imagination. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I like that one.
W
There's so many things
On
we could
so many
say.
levels,
And
yeah,
like
that
in our year of 2026, there's
yeah, that
just
has aged so poorly.
as
So
this film, which we
poorly.
will talk about too in some regards.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. And then very last, we have inspired by true events, which I would say put a pin in that. We will come
Oh,
back. So stick it in your
interesting.
forehead. We're coming back.
Pinhead is building.
Pinhead is building. Everybody get your pins out. So writer director, obviously Eli Roth. We
Mhm.
know him. We've talked about him before. We covered Cabin Fever on a past episode. Hostel was his film directly after his feature with Cabin Fever. And he then goes on. If you don't know anything about him, I don't know. I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you know Eli
You
Roth. But
probably
he
know
did,
Eli Roth.
yeah. He, after that, did the Thanksgiving trailer for Grindhouse movie. He created Hostel 2 and of course, Inglorious Bastards, and so on
Mhm.
and so forth. A little fun fact about kind of like a nod to Cabin Fever in this is there is a little parody of Cabin Fever called Sex Fever, which we see playing in this. The factory guard is watching it. It has IMDb
Amazing.
credits. It's a real
That's
thing.
so good.
And that has a good tagline, which porn, of course, it has great taglines.
Yeah.
So that tagline is there's something in the water, dot, 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 and there's plenty to go around.
Oh my god. He had way too much fun with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He
So,
had that one locked and
but
loaded.
real porn, you can go check that out if you want to.
Oh my
After you
god.
listen to us talk about this. So,
Amazing.
normally, this is where I talk about starring. I am going to talk
Mhm.
about development a little bit first, and then we'll
Cool.
get into starring. So, obviously, after the success of Cabin Fever, Eli Roth was approached by a lot of studios, and they were actually trying to give him a lot of big films and franchises to be a part of. So, there was offers to do remakes of Last House on the Left, The Fog,
Oh.
and Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise.
Whoa.
Wild, right? Cabin Fever to like, here's this big franchise that you could be a part of, or like, you know, films that do pretty well in the horror-verse after
Yeah.
this.
And also, I'm so glad that none of those happened.
Me too.
I really don't want to see Eli Roth's Last House on the
God.
Left. Like,
Do you
that sounds so painful.
painful? I do feel like it would be good, but you know who you have to thank for this? Him not doing that,
Oh my
Sienna. You're
god.
gonna hate who you have to thank.
No!
Quentin
It's Quentin
Tarantino.
Tarantino.
I'm so sorry.
Literally my first note, I'm gonna scroll down to it here. The first thing that I wrote down
Oh,
watching your
no.
film in the credits, because I didn't know, was Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino presents Siena's in
Yep.
for a rough time.
Yep. Oh, God. And we're gonna talk about how we love him for why we get the hostel we get. And so it's, if
It
anything, if I
does
might make you hate this more.
great. It does, like it is like you can feel the Tarantino
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
pretty
He
intensely.
a big advisor, so we have him to thank for the reason that Eli Roth did not take those. But he was so we kind of talked about it again in Cabin Fever. Quentin Tarantino saw Cabin Fever, huge fan. He put it on his
Mhm.
like top 10 films of the year list. He also like immediately reached out to Eli Roth and was like, "Hey, if you ever want to do something in the future, let me know. Like, I really want to work
Mhm.
with you."
Mhm.
He was on a red carpet doing an interview as well and saying he kind of loved Eli Roth for the fact that he wasn't trying to get on like Entertainment Weekly with his horror movies. He was trying to get on
Mm.
like the cover of Fangoria. And so he was like, that's a real horror director and doesn't care about the fame. He doesn't care about the numbers. Like he really wants to give horror to the horror lovers and be a
You
horror
c
fan. So
you can really tell he's there for the genre. It's true.
yes. And so Eli Roth says that too. And so we have to agree, or Eli Roth, Quentin Tarantino says that too. So we have to agree with Quentin Tarantino, which I know is like
Once
me and his
again.
least favorite thing. Once again. Unfortunately. So like I said, he was kind of offered up these things, and eventually Eli Roth gets in a room with a couple of producers who kind of are talking about his next film. Eli Roth is, kind of got this like word in his ear, like kind of figuring out where he's gonna lie with all this. And these two producers who I did not write the names down, sorry.
No worries.
Not
They're
sorry.
producers.
They're producers, two dudes.
Mhm.
And so they really wanted to make like a backpacking film. And he was like, "Ooh, I feel like I could do something with
Mhm.
that, this like travel backpacking." So
Mhm.
Eli Roth ends up calling up Tarantino to talk to him like while he's trying to figure this out. And so I have a lot of quotes from Eli Roth. There was what was it? Dread Central. I have to scroll about him, but like it was a great interview. I pulled a lot of my quotes and a lot of my facts
Cool.
from this interview. So Eli Roth said, quote, "I said to Quentin, I just kind of don't know what to do now. I'm in this weird place where I'm being offered studio directed movies. I have my
Mhm.
own stuff I'm sort of developing." And he's like, "What? I'm not going to do an impression of him like you." He says, "Well, what ideas are you working on?" So I told him like this and this. And he said,
Mhm.
"Well, there's this other thing." And so he kind of told him this idea for Hostel, which we'll get to in a minute. And
Mm.
he was like, Quentin Tarantino was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's the sickest fucking idea I've ever heard. You got to do that. Fuck it. Do it low budget. Like, this is it." So we can all hear Tarantino in our brain. Um,
Yeah.
Transport yourself back to an episode where Siena did a Tarantino impersonation. That's what we're all hearing in our heads right now. And so, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just yeah, it echoes constantly ever since that. I
Reading
like
these, I heard
yeah.
your voice as
No!
Tarantino giving these quotes.
And, like, it's not even a good Tarantino. It's
But it
just like
was, but it was. I forget what episode that was, but if anyone
oh
knows,
god.
let us know. But yeah, so
It
that's who
was
I hear.
multiple, that's the problem.
It just keeps
It
popping
just keeps
up.
coming back, yeah.
Oh, I can't get rid of him. So, Eli Roth kind of was like, "Okay, yeah, maybe that's what I want to do."
Mhm.
He kind of wanted to do it under his company called Raw Nerve, which I didn't realize it was a
Mm.
production company he had with Scott Spiegel
Hmm.
and Bose. I forget if it's
Oh.
Yekin or Yankin. I feel like I might have miswrote his name. We've talked about them on the podcast before too.
Mhm.
So they were like throwing around this $3 million budget, like, "Oh, we can do this for that." Obviously, Eli Roth's like, "I'm really comfortable with that." So
Mhm.
Quentin Tarantino kind of said like, "Hey, why don't you go to Europe, make it as sick as you want to make it, like go balls fucking out. This
Mhm.
could be your Takashi Miike film," which we know,
Yes!
1999's
Yes!
Audition. And
Yes!
so, I
God
totally
damn it.
butchered his name. And so Eli Roth like heard that and he was like, "Oh my God, yeah, that could be my Takashi Miike
Oh my
film." And
god.
there we kind of get like this little seed of birth of everything. So that's how we get the Quentin Tarantino Presents. He's kind of an advisor. He's very much a not on set producer. He was more behind the scenes. He
Mhm.
was really like the money guy, which honestly I
I like
appreciate because
that. Yeah.
he sees this like budding horror director who he's obsessed
Mhm.
with, and he's like, "I love this. I want to support it, but it's yours."
Yeah,
And for
that's
him to be able to do that,
I can appreciate that.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
truly
just gonna
out of
say
character.
wild.
Deeply out of character.
Yeah. So, how do we kind of get the actual story of Hostel? Where did that sick story come
Mhm.
from? This part I didn't know. So, the idea of the script wasn't even conceived until a conversation with film critic who we've brought up before, From Ain't It Cool News, Harry Knowles. He's like a atrocious person. I don't even know if
Oh,
he's with
great.
us any longer anyways, but he kind of pops up. He's I think we talked about him on Cabin Fever, and I want to say we brought him up on like the Faculty episode or
Okay.
something like that. So he kind of loves his, I feel like, horror director friends, and so that's how we
Mhm.
always get him kind of weaseling his way in. So Eli Roth kind of mentioned a story about a guy in Texas who was set up so he I guess he like set up these hunts for people to shoot lions in like in Texas, which I'm like I have so many
Hate
feelings that we're not going to
that.
get into on that. So he
Yeah.
saw the story, the FBI busted him, and he was like, that's like the sickest thing I've seen on the internet. So they're having this conversation. They're kind of like tossing back these ideas of like, what's
Mm.
the sickest thing I've ever seen?
Mhm.
And Harry Knowles talks about how when he was on the dark web, which I know there's different layers of dark web, but just casually throwing up the like out that you're on the dark web, he saw a website that was promoting a Thai murder vacation website where you could pay $10,000 to shoot somebody in the head. Apparently, like 5 grand of that would then go to this person's family because this person
Jesus Christ.
volunteered to do it.
Jesus Christ.
Regardless of whether so I have some quotes from it. They don't know if it was real or fake, but it kind of that was like that
Yeah.
seed, right? To
Ugh.
be paid to kill somebody. Um
It
yeah.
also it okay, I mean, like, first thought is like, yeah, that's like there's different layers of dark web. That's a very specific one that you're on if that's what you're finding. Like, you're not like,
That's what I'm saying. Like if someone's like casually because I am like fascinated by the dark web, but I'm also like
yeah.
which nothing's gonna happen, but I'm like, oh my God, if I'm on TikTok Googling the dark web, am I gonna like is my FBI agent who watches my phone gonna be like, "Oh my God, what are they?" And I'm like, "No, I'm on
That's
like
not
there's
how you
surface
access the
level. That's
dark
not how
web.
you access.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it." But like, there's still this like part of me that's just so
Oh, yeah.
horrified that like all of these things happen. So, and I'm like, that wouldn't be like surface level dark web,
Right.
which I would
Right.
hope that he is on.
And it doesn't sound like it from that
And it doesn't
description.
sound like it. Yeah.
Like,
And they're like, could have teens made this? I don't know.
Jesus Christ. But
So, anyways.
the other thing it makes me think of is like it does feel like a very Videodrome concept. Like I feel
Mhm.
like I kind of think
Absolutely.
Cronenberg very much like saw this part of the internet coming, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, even like the website design, there's a YouTube making of, or if you own the DVD, there's like a 3-part making of on there too, and they show a little like screen grab of it, and it's just like it gives very Videodrome vibes. It's like all black,
Mhm.
white text, purple kind of
Yep.
graphics around it, and it just I
Mhm.
don't know, it just gives kind of that energy. So that's where that came from. I have a quote from Eli Roth talking about the website. So he said, quote, "The site claimed that the person you were killing had signed up for it and part of the money would go to their family, like I said, because they
Mhm.
were broke and they were going to die anyways." Very Squid Games of us.
Mhm.
It was to give you the thrill of taking another human life. So we said, is this bullshit? Is this real? It looked real, but you know what? It doesn't matter whether this place
Mhm.
exists or not, isn't important for him. So he
Mhm.
goes on to say the point is that somebody built the website about it,
Yeah.
somebody else thought it up, realized it, conceptualized the site. They figured that there was some guy out there that was so bored with money and drugs, they can get off they can't get off from going to a hooker or strip clubs or doing drugs. So they're looking for that next thrill level, which if you can hear where the plot of Hostel's coming from.
Mhm.
And so whether or not it was real, I know people like that. I can see someone with money means nothing to them and they kind of have all these things and they're numb. So they want to walk in a room and just kill someone without consequences.
Mhm.
So that was Eli Roth's take on it, is like he didn't really care. There's people out there that would do
Yeah.
this and would
Well, I
want
mean,
that.
the
And there
fact that
are.
yeah, the fact that that website exists means that the person, whether it was real or not, the person making it thinks that there is an audience for it. Um,
Absolutely.
and that in itself is telling. And so is that why it's quote unquote based on a true story?
That is.
Oh my God, that's so funny. But it's also like, yeah, like I do think that's like, not to get too dark here, but like if there's anything the Epstein files are
I
proving, it's
was
that
just gonna
like,
say.
yeah, like it feels like a very Epstein files movie in a couple of
Yeah. Well, that's
ways.
the thing too. Again, it's like this is was it 2005, and I'm just like, "Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
imagine
Mm-hmm.
I want to know Eli Roth thought on that
I
now because
know.
with like the Epstein files, I'm like all of this stuff exists. It's been
Yeah.
existing. Again, whether it was a real website or not, it doesn't fucking
Right.
matter because there is one out there
Yeah, because that
somewhere and
there
somebody's
are
doing that.
people doing things like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's horrifying. So
Yeah.
that is the seed that gives us kind of this
Man.
plot.
Ugh.
So oh, Eli Roth also kind of takes some inspiration, just kind of again, with the real life of like friends that he knew in Hollywood that would go
Mhm.
get like hookers, drugs, Vegas, whatever.
Mhm.
And kind of the idea of like, we're gonna go to Amsterdam. So he
Mm.
said he called it this quote, kind of this American thing of going abroad and doing all these things you're not supposed to do. And that's why I
Mhm.
made Amsterdam purposely look like an X-rated Disneyland. So, which we'll talk about, they were not super happy with, and we
I can
have
imagine.
quotes
Yeah.
from that. So after that, again, he kind of had this idea before. Once he kind of got that next level of the website and that whole idea in his head, it took him
Mhm.
about 2 weeks to write the scripts.
Uh,
And I know, right? Who
whew.
there's not like a lot going. It's just a lot of torture
Yeah,
porn.
that's
There's not like a
fair.
ton going on. So yeah, 2 weeks. And he showed it to Tarantino, and was
Mhm.
Tarantino, of course, was like, "This is fucking awesome. Like,
Mhm.
let's go through with it." So the two of them ended up going through the script and doing what Tarantino liked to call a bullshit pass, which is where he reads the script and calls bullshit wherever it felt like something could only happen in a movie and
Mm.
specifically be like conveniencing the movie's plot.
Mhm.
So they went through it. And so an instance is Paxton when he gets his hand cut off.
Mhm.
I guess in the script, it was his whole hand. And when Tarantino read that, he was like, bullshit. He would probably bleed out or bleed
Mhm.
too much or be a little disoriented. So, like, let's just cut off 2 fingers. He can still do things with that hand
Mhm.
and get through it. So they kind of went through this pass. And I don't know if I talk about it at any point, but initially, and there's some interviews, Eli Roth actually, I think when they started about the backpacking and once he learned about the website, he wanted
Mhm.
Hostel to be a documentary at first. And he wanted to go there and like figure out stuff. And he was like, I realize I can't do this because it would lead me down a fucked up path, which I'm like, thank
Jesus
fuck.
Christ!
I don't think anyone would let you in a room. You would not make it
No.
out. We would not see the other side of that
Right.
movie.
Yeah,
Eli,
that's
you
the
dumb baby.
that footage would be, locked away in a file somewhere. Yeah.
Absolutely, as it is.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what his intent was. Like, everything is based off of real reality, kind of pulling from real circumstances. So
Mhm.
that's where we get the bullshit pass. And I would love to have been a fly on that wall to just
Yeah.
hear like Tarantino just like probably chain smoking, just
Mhm.
drunk saying bullshit
Listen,
at things.
man, now here's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Yeah. There's the Al Tarantino. We got him to
That's all
come
I can say.
out.
One word. Just like the Australian accent, I can only say, "Oh
Yep.
my god, sore," and that's it.
So
And I have to say, "Oh my god," before anything,
that's
and that's how it
so
gets me in the
funny.
Australian
Mhm. With the
accent.
little door in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So, with the tone of the film, obviously, we kind of get, like, 2 movies. We kind of get the first half, the
Yeah.
second half, which was, of course, very intentional.
Mhm.
Eli Roth did not want to kind of give us a, quote, "scary movie" in the sense of giving jump
Mhm.
scares. He kind of just says, like, the opening credits are the first real, like, eerie thing that we see, but he wanted to
Hmm.
open with these, like, bros going on this buddy trip. So,
Which I will say I hated the Amsterdam part. Like, I was not on board for Amsterdam. It was as soon as they left Amsterdam and were on the train that I was like, Eli Roth
yeah.
says what now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's this I mean, boy, don't watch this around people you don't know
mhm.
well
Mhm.
because the language,
Oh my god, it's so bad.
every other
It's
word is like, "That's gay." I'm just like, "Oh my god." There's words I'm not repeating
yeah.
ever.
It's also just it's
It's
so funny watching back to back
yeah.
with Saw and seeing like all of the homophobia in yours and then
Yeah, and
all
yours
of the
is like, "We're
homoeroticism in
gay."
my yeah, mine is like, we're gay.
Heated rivalry, but in a
In the
heated
world's worst bathroom,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's they were quite, I was like, I forgot how gay, like,
It's
South
so
feels.
gay. I was
And this
like,
one's just not that in
this
any
one's trying
way.
so hard to not
Oh
be that.
god,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm so hetero. I'm so hetero, Sienna.
Ah, methinks the hetero doth protest too much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, that's, the tone of the film, it was very
Mhm.
intentional. I'm trying to figure out where I put this other part that kind of went along with that, which we may have to put a pin in
No
tone a little
worries.
bit.
Pin going in the
Yeah,
pinhead.
sorry guys, put another pin in. So I have a very long quote from Eli kind of talking about his intention with the film, so bear with me.
Mhm.
He said, again, we're kind of starting in this like fun uh not scary kind of realm when we start in this
Mhm.
film, which I forgot how long it takes us to get to kind of a part, and then it doesn't stop.
Right, right. It's very
So
like The Hangover for that first chunk.
yeah, oh my god, it is like a really fucked up hangover. It's a
Mhm.
wonderful way to put it. Torture porn hangover film. So,
Mhm.
I have a quote from him. He says, so then they get lured into this and kind of seduced into going to the way guys do, then they
Mhm.
fucking pay the price for it. That's what I love about the film Audition. Again, he loves that film. He references a lot. That the guy is so sexist and he's kind of
Mhm.
unaware of it. You know, these guys, the way they're just
Mhm.
looking at women, the way they're treating women. I very deliberately made Jay, unlike who's Paxton,
Mhm.
unlikable in the first half. I think he's pretty much unlikable the whole time.
I would agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. But he doesn't even realize it. It's kind of the moment where he goes back to rescue Kana when you kind of
Mhm.
start to like him, which, like, again, barely start to like him. At that point, he just irritates me.
Yeah, I actually liked him best for the brief chunk that he was alone. I
Yeah.
think he's
Yeah.
best when he's
And then
alone.
he makes the poorest choice ever just for her to
Yeah.
walk in front of a
Yeah.
train.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
So he said, I wanted to make a movie that was kind of a slow burn, kind of horror movie. I love Audition, where there's all this build up to the last 10 minutes and then it's just horrifying. I have not seen
Mhm.
Audition, so I did not look up anything about Audition. I
Good,
cannot
because
compare it to Audition.
I'm gonna make you watch it soon. One of these
Okay, yeah,
days. Yeah,
it's
it's
definitely
on our
on the
list.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm especially after kind of hearing how he talks about it.
I
I'm
r- I
intrigued to
I really think you would like it a lot,
yeah,
especially now that
I'm
I've seen this and know how
yeah.
much you like it. Like they're I think you will very much see what they have in common.
Yeah, so I didn't look up, so I'm not saying here nor there.
Excellent.
Yeah, and one of the things too, he said kind of with the very hangover vibe of it, where it's leading
Mhm.
this buddy comedy, almost, I wouldn't even say comedy, and then you're kind
Mhm.
of in this like very fucked up and like it doesn't relent after that. He wanted people, instead of having these jump scares and to be scared for, that movie or a couple days after, he wanted it to resonate with people and kind of like almost disturb them for as long as he could, which I would say he
Hmm.
succeeded in, because this movie fucked me up to the point that, like, a year after seeing it or 2 years after seeing it, I went to a dentist appointment, and my dentist that I'd never been to, like, my bracket broke. I had to like, I, like, came
Mhm.
home from college and was sitting in there and, like, a level lower, and there was just, like, the little, like, glass block window,
Oh
like,
my
half
god.
glass block window,
Mhm.
and my dentist comes in, and he's fucking whistling. And I about
Mm.
had a goddamn heart attack, and even to this day, if I hear someone whistle in that
Oh
tone,
my god.
it sends, like, a chill down. So I would say, like, I don't know if that's everyone else's experience, but, like, I've not been able to let go of how this movie kind of,
Wow.
like, fucked me up in that way. It was such a formative time for me too, like, being, what, 16 years old, so,
Yeah, that'll do it.
job well done. Eli Roth also talks about how a lot of people wanna call it an exploitation film, and he
Mhm.
said it's not an exploitation film, it's a film about exploitation, so he's very specific with that. I think people just tend to lump that in together. He talks
Hmm.
about how no one in the film is treating one another as a human being,
Mhm.
and how the men go from looking at hookers in the window to becoming the hookers in the window, which I love. And how
Mhm.
these men's fantasies of exploiting women kind of turn into like these other men having fantasies of killing these men, and kind of flipping that on his
Mhm.
head, which I was it's been a few years since I rewatched this, and kind of jumping into it, I was, like, horrified by the 2004-ness of it all,
It's
but I
very
would like
2004, yeah.
oh god, but Eli Roth is like, "No, these guys are pieces of fucking shit. That is the point. They are horrible human beings," and I was like, "Oh, thank
That's
fuck." I
good to
couldn't remember.
hear.
I
I,
could
like,
not
genuinely
remember.
wasn't sure which way that was gonna go.
I mean, like, I don't get how we were so horrible in the early 2000s and, like, men got away with it the way they did, but then I'm
Yeah.
looking where we are still. Um,
Yeah. It
yeah,
almost feels like
no.
we've gotten worse in some ways.
In some ways, we really have, like,
Yeah.
started to get pulled back down into this
Yeah,
awful place.
we backslid pretty far.
Yeah, but no, in every interview, he talks about these men are horrible, and, like, that's kind of the point is these men don't realize that they're treating people inhumanely or, like, not like
Mhm.
humans, they're just these objects to be, like, gawked at, there's tits, they're, like it's like they've never seen a pair of tits before in a day in their life,
Yep.
and then the fact that then when these men are kind of essentially doing the same thing back to them, they're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, why would you wanna do this?" It's like, "Hello, are we not seeing what parallels are happening?" So,
Right.
yay, Eli Roth, I'm happy for hanging out with Quentin
Good.
Tarantino.
Yeah,
He
that's
was okay at the time,
Jesus.
at least his PR team.
Yeah.
Um,
Snaps to the
so
PR team.
yeah. Another thing, like, I kind of brought up too, and, like, he brought up, and we'll put a pin in this and come back to it, but just the idea of, like, I think I went to France and Spain, around the same time as well, and I was like,
Mm,
"Oh my god," like,
me
remember when
too.
the world didn't have this horrible perception of Americans, at least as
Oh.
horrible as it is now.
See, yeah, I was thinking I was around the same age when I went to France and Spain, but it was in like 2013, 14,
Oh, no, we were
and it
far
was
gone
already
by then.
like, oh yeah, no, like you'd
Far
like,
gone.
yeah, there was no hope for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna say I went in, like, 2006, and I think even then I lied, and I was like, "I'm Canadian. I'm a exchange student, and these are all Americans, so I am not." I, like, tried so hard not even to speak, like, when I was in France, I was, like, almost fluent-ish in French.
Wow.
I left that in the back door,
Mhm.
unfortunately, and didn't keep that
Mhm.
up. And then when I was in Spain, I was like, "I'm just gonna be mute. I'm not talking. I don't want people to know," because even then
Mhm.
I was just like,
This is
I know my place.
shameful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't wanna be who I am, unfortunately. So I was, like, curious because I was like, what was the take in, like, 2004? It was obviously, like,
Yeah.
post 9/11, which again, we'll talk
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
Eli Roth talks about that too. Post 9/11, people really hate us, and
Mhm.
because America's out there policing the world, and we're bullying on other countries, and he goes, "So Americans really feel hated right now," and so he really plays on that, like, xenophobic like viewpoints
Yeah.
of Americans at the time. And I was like, I just noted in all caps, like, if only he knew where we were now
Yeah,
at the
truly.
time, if he had the foresight to see, because I was just like, it's horrible. And even like traveling the last few years overseas, it's just like,
Mhm.
again, Americans have this entitlement going overseas that I'm just certain
It's
Americans do.
gross. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone knows
Yeah, we do
they
not
all look
conduct
the
ourselves
same.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
it's
we have a
horrible
bad habit of
entitlement.
being really, really terrible guests.
Yeah, we're not, and then just, like, especially then as a country, we just became
Mhm.
horrible, and,
Yep.
Eli Roth talks about George Bush, which I'm like, "Oh my god, he's not even
Imagine where it's
bad in
going.
comparison."
Yeah.
So, we'll come back to, like, the 9/11 thing. There is a 10th anniversary retrospective article that
Mm,
I'm gonna bring up when we get to critics, but, yeah, so I just had all these questions, and I love that in my research, I was kind of seeing these answered by him, and these were
that's so
thoughts that he
interesting.
had, so I felt very validated. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. He didn't just do this torture porn thing
Mhm.
and not think about these things." I was
Yeah.
really happy to see how much he thought about this film in a way that I just didn't expect from him.
Mhm.
So
Agreed.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So starring, we are here. We have a pretty short cast list because again, I feel like we have a decent amount to talk about for these
Mhm.
two. So we have Jay Hernandez as Paxton. So if you recognize him, I feel like he's a really recognizable face.
Mhm.
He was in
Yeah.
Crazy Beautiful, which is what kind of like kicked
Mm.
off his career. The Rookie, Magnum PI, Friday Night Lights are, I think, among the bigger things that he's done, but he's done a ton of stuff. When it came to casting the role of Paxton, Eli Roth felt like Jay was a really underrated actor, and
Hmm.
he was super happy that when Jay had read the script, that he responded really well to it, and so he thought he was perfect for the role, and he said he would be lucky if he got to cast him in that role, which I think is really sweet.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
He said, quote, "He was such a good actor that he feels like a regular guy. I didn't want people who looked like pretty boys or
Mm.
movie people. I
Mhm.
wanted people who felt like guys I went to college with, I grew up
Mhm.
with, people that I know." The thing about Jay is he's really like a real guy. He's
Yeah.
quality. He has a natural style of acting. You don't feel like he's acting. He's just somebody who throws himself into the role. But I also felt Jay was willing to make himself vulnerable. So he said a lot of these guys wanted to be macho and tough all the time, and they don't
Mhm.
sit there and can cry like a baby when they're about to die in a movie. And Jay was willing to do that.
Very
So,
important for this genre.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I hate these guys, but then like Jay does give such a good performance that you
He
like
does.
you want to like him, but I was like, you were just you were the shittiest of shitholes like 2 seconds
Mhm.
ago.
You're not a
I'm
good
not rooting for
person.
anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had like a little moment where the guy like takes his fingers when Jay's like trying to save them. I like was like
Mhm.
watching the guy walk away and I was like, good for her.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. You get those fingies and you
you
bring
get
them
those
right in front
fingies.
of him.
Yeah. Mhm.
You
Mhm.
just squish those. I
Yeah.
know. It's so good. That's the thing. I'm just like rooting for nobody in this. I'm just like,
Yeah,
this
very
is kill.
much. Yeah.
Just
That's I think
put them
that's
all around.
a lot of the genre. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of torture, we have the torture scene with Jay. It took about 2 days for them to film that, like roughly 2, 3 days.
Mhm.
He talks about how the handcuffs were very real and the chair was very hard metal. So over those 2 days, he developed a lot of bruises, a lot of scrapes. He goes, by the second day, the bruises were like sore from doing it. So he was getting bruises on the bruises,
Oh
all the
god.
way, yeah, all the way from like his neck all the way down to his feet. And I know. I'm like, he was just
Oh.
really in there and like pulling. I'm like, oh my God, they couldn't give him, I guess they couldn't give him like softer ones. I don't know.
Oh god.
And on the flip side of that, he said emotionally during those scenes, he was also having to put himself in this place of, I'm about to die. So he
Mhm.
ended up really reflecting on himself and ended up getting nightmares during the production because he
Wow.
was going to such a dark place. And one of the nightmares that he had that he said like all the nightmares kind of were like this one where he was in an abandoned building, much like the one in Hostel, trying to get
Mhm.
out of a deep hole that was in the middle of it. And there was this light up top, and he would keep trying to like climb out and dig and struggle. And
Interesting.
so and then he would wake up. So a lot of his dreams were about that. And I'm like,
Huh.
as someone who loves dreams, and I'm like, there's
Mhm.
so much to say about that. Also, it's some people have dreams I feel like that are very on point to like their reality versus like my dreams
Yeah.
are like they make no sense. But
Mine
then
are
I know some people that like they are exactly what they're going through.
yeah. Mine are like very they're one of the two poles, but I never know which one I'm gonna get.
Oh,
This
funny.
this description of his dream is also reminding me, have you seen the movie Cure from
No.
'97? Okay, because that's another one
No.
I really want us to cover at some point. It
Ooh.
has an amazing scene in an abandoned building. I just watched it for the first time like a couple months ago and was immediately like, it might be one of my birthday picks this year. I don't know. We'll see. But
Ooh, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, just
Write
thinking
it
about abandoned
down.
buildings. Yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I love that that sparked that. Does it have to do anything with dreams then? Or just
Yes.
okay, say no more.
Yes.
Say
Yeah.
no more. I am there.
I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
I love that. I was gonna say, like, one of my little last notes about this is Eli Roth kind of like the fact that Jay was kind of having these dreams. Eli Roth kind of wanted these moments in the film to feel nightmarish and like nightmares. So there's
Mm.
not I think that in his original script, he had a little less logic. He was like these
Hmm.
torture
Mhm.
scenes were a little bit more dreamlike in the sense of like what could be the sickest thing.
Mhm.
There doesn't really have to be a plot within this. So I
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
love that he was having these not love that he was having these nightmares, but love that
That
it kind
feels
of I'm sure Eli was like, "Tell me more about your
yeah.
nightmares."
I'm really in your head now.
I'm in your head.
Mhm.
We have Derek Richardson as Josh. He is in the film so much shorter than I remember, but I remember having the biggest crush on him ever at the time. Oh, gross. Listen,
Mhm.
2004.
Yeah,
He
it
is
was a time.
in Dumb and Dumberer. and Bring It On
Oh
Again,
my
and the TV
god.
series Anger Management. So he hasn't done a ton.
Mhm.
All I can see is honestly Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber and like that character. I watched that movie when it
Mhm.
came out. It's atrocious. I don't have much on him, so we're gonna move right
Amazing.
past him.
Fantastic.
We have, I hope I say his name right. I couldn't find any interviews with him. Ithor Gudjonsson as Oli,
Oh.
who is only credited in Hostel, Hostel Part 2, and then has done some commercial work.
Oh,
But
wow.
if you're wondering, like, where does he come from? It's because
Mhm.
Eli Roth actually wrote the role of Oli for Ethor after
Oh.
meeting him during a press tour for Cabin Fever when he was in Iceland.
Whoa,
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah.
he just met
So
this guy and was like, "You're such a character. I need you in a horror movie?"
yes, he was
That's
like,
so
he's so
cool.
charismatic and he's so like charming. And he was like, I've never met
Interesting.
anybody like this
Oh my
man.
god.
And so he
So
was
Eli
like, when
Roth had a crush.
he had a crush and he loves like Eli Roth. If we remember too from Cabin Fever, he lived in Iceland when he was 19. That's where he got the
Oh,
idea for
yeah.
Cabin Fever.
I
He
forgot
got
about
like
that.
a when he was like working with horses or something, he got that like skin infection. So
Mhm,
he
mhm.
loves Iceland. He loves Icelandic people. And so like when he was over there
Fascinating.
doing the press tour, he was like, I love this man. I will call you the next time I do a movie. And he did.
I love this. That's so
And they walked
cute.
off into the sunset together. Blood-soaked hands and all.
Oh
Isn't it
my
adorable?
god. Leaving behind a trail of fingers.
Truly. And so, yeah, he calls him up and Ethor was like, "Yeah, of course I'm
Oh
gonna
my
do this." Again,
god.
he has, like, no acting experience.
Wow.
And I'm trying to think if this quote's even worth it. Yeah, oh, Eli Roth just kinda feels back. He goes like, "Icelanders, aren't in the movie, you know, you don't see an Icelandic character in a lot of films." So he figured,
Mhm.
"You know what? I'm gonna put this character in here." But he was like, "You know, I can take, 1,100 years of Icelandic culture and fucking flush it down the toilet in 90 minutes because everyone's gonna think that people from Iceland are like this." So he kind of feels a little bit bad 'cause it's like, this isn't the
This isn't
best
representative.
representation.
Yeah.
He's like, "I put this guy because I love him, but sorry, guys." So I
Oh
think
my
that's kind
god.
of
That's so
cute.
funny.
He apologized, and they did have a premiere of Hostel in Iceland, of course, as well. And
Obviously.
yeah, and the Minister of Culture threw him a huge dinner and invited Quentin Tarantino,
Oh my god.
Ethor, and Eli Roth. So,
Oh my
like,
god.
these 4 guys. And that was when Eli Roth took his moment to apologize to the minister, which he accepted. And yeah, he said, "Well, you know, the character." Oh, what did he say? The president. He kind of gave like a little party. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's fine that you apologize." He goes, "Well, you know, the character's pretty accurate, so it's fine."
Oh my
I
god.
think with the charm more than anything, not
Mhm.
the murderous side plot. So
Right.
I think it's cute that they had like a little foursome dinner that night
Oh my
together.
god. This
I
is
want to
so
know.
funny.
I want to know, like, does he have a second home there? I'm curious, like, how often he goes
Yeah.
back.
What's the whole deal with Eli Roth in Iceland?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I want to know, like, he's never made like an Icelandic film proper, and I'm like,
yet.
so yeah, yeah. I'm like,
Yet.
they're like, you're done. We forgave you this time. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
Banned from
you're done.
Iceland. Bjork
um,
hates you.
right? I was gonna say, moving on, we have Barbara Nedeljkova. I'm gonna do a
Gorgeous.
long
Great.
pause. I mean, she's gorgeous as
I mean, yeah.
Natalia,
Oh,
which,
so
oh my
hot.
god, just I
So
miss the
hot.
days of fresh-faced, normal teeth, no makeup,
Mhm.
like, hot girls in movies. I'm like,
Yeah.
we don't have to
That's
have, and I love Margot Robbie, don't get me wrong, she's gorgeous. I love her.
but she doesn't look like a person.
Yeah,
Like
I'm like, she's, like, too pretty to be
yeah.
like, that's not, like, a real human being. That is
Yeah.
a perfect she's Barbie,
Yeah,
right?
she's Barbie.
But I miss, like, characters like this in film, even though she's, like, barely
Mhm.
in it. She doesn't have a ton of acting credits, but I just, like,
Is
I
she
loved
she's the
her.
one who brings him to the
Yes,
yeah,
she's
okay.
the main girl, she's the one that kind of leads him back, I'm so sorry.
No, no,
She's
no.
kind of like our main girl at
Yeah,
the end.
I loved her moment where she's like, "I get so much money for you, and that makes you my bitch."
Yeah,
That I was like,
that line. is one of my
Yeah.
favorite lines. It is in the Ice Nine Kills
Oh my
song. It's one of
god.
my favorite lines in that song. They reference it. It's so good. It's so good that they
Ugh.
played it like twice at the end of credits. So if
Oh
you
my
stay all the way through, you hear it, I
god.
think, like 2 more times.
That's
It's so
so
good.
good.
So yeah, so the Ice and Kill song, it's Worst Vacation,
Oh my god.
WURST Vacation.
Jesus
It's amazing. It's
Christ.
one of my favorite ones that they have. Anyways, so she is in a couple things. She's in Shanghai Nights, Hostel Part 2. So if you want to see her again, Children of the Corn Genesis, and The
Oh.
Hike. Which one's that? I don't know.
I don't
Lost
wanna
track.
know.
How many children later? We have Peter Yanis as the German surgeon.
Mm,
Ugh.
yeah,
He
horrible.
is horribly creepy. He's not in a lot of things. He's just in a lot of Czech films. So,
The eating
um,
salad with his hands was like, "Oh my god, this is a psychopath." Like,
I actually don't find that weird.
okay, the thing is, like, there are occasions where I will, like, pick up a salad leaf with my
Yeah.
hands or something, but, like, eating
Yeah,
it
you
out
seem
of
like
a
a
bowl in a train just feels like,
you're like red flag, you're a
"No!"
murderer.
Yeah, ugh.
That's what Sienna would have clocked.
Yeah,
Clocked him.
I
Like,
mean,
we're moving
yeah,
scenes.
do not trust.
You know, it's funny. I saw like a meme the other day that was talking about like we really need to start eating salads like chips and dip. But now I'm like, oh great, there's a generation of like my generation is probably gonna be like murderer,
Murderer,
murderer.
yeah, mhm,
You pay money because you're a bad surgeon
exactly.
to kill people. Yeah, I love that. And then lastly, we do have Jennifer Lim as Kana. She is in. I love these 3 movies I'm about to read off to you. She is in Monster Calls,
Ooh.
The Monster Beneath Us, and 2 episodes of When Evil Calls.
Oh my god. They all
I'm like,
connect.
girl. Yeah, they all connect. So if you want to see her, and then we have the Bubblegum Gang of street kids, which are
Amazing.
real street kids that they hired to be on this, and they
Wow.
return. I think at least the main kid returns in Hostel 2, and I believe 3. I'm not sure.
They were one of my favorite parts of the movie. I thought they were fantastic.
They're amazing and they are terrifying because
Yeah.
Italy has these little packs of motherfuckers
Ugh,
running around at night smoking cigarettes, 8 years old max. And I was like, I remember getting into
terrifying.
areas and everyone being like, you need to watch out for the kids. And
Yeah.
you do. Packs of kids are never a good thing
Not to be
in
trusted.
any context. At a brewery, don't trust them. They're like wild wolves. Run away and keep your food close and have a stash of bubble gum for them
So
to
if there's
throw.
2 things we've learned not to trust is packs of kids in any location and people who eat salad with their
Sounds with
hands.
their hands. Yeah. I think those are 2 wonderful life lessons
Rules
we
to
can all
live
take from
by.
this
Yeah.
podcast. You guys
Mhm.
are all so welcome for our
Mhm. You're
advice.
welcome, Splat Pack.
We do have 3 cameos in this film, which
Oh
I
my god, of
am
course.
curious if you caught. I actually
I
missed like
Yeah, I was watching because, like,
all
I
of them.
feel like Eli Roth probably has a cameo in everything he does,
Yes,
but I did
I
not
missed
catch
him.
him. Yeah. I feel like there's probably is there a Tarantino cameo too?
Yes,
No!
missed him.
I missed him!
Me too. So I will point out where they were if you're
Thank
like me
you.
and Sienna.
Yes, please.
So in around 3 minutes, we see Eli Roth.
Oh my god.
He is a American customer in a Boston Red Sox jersey in the coffee shop. So he is
Oh.
actually struggling to take the hit off his bong. That's where we see him. Which, like, I saw him, but I didn't see him.
Yes. Yeah, now that you say that, like, it clicked. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Yes. And I think he like famously loves the Red
Oh
Sox. So that's where we get
god.
him.
That makes
Um
sense.
around 9 minutes, we get a apparently shirtless German man screaming from a window who is Quentin Tarantino.
No!
Which
Oh
also
my
pretty
god.
perfect.
Yeah, that tracks.
Maybe
That
like
seems
my
right.
brain purposely blocked that one out so I couldn't see it.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know?
wanna see that.
Maybe
I
our
don't
brains
I
protect
we're
ourselves.
agreed.
And then lastly, we get Takashi Miike, who I know I didn't know what he looked like, obviously. So
Oh my god, where's Takashi?
he is one of the elite hunting club clients. So when
No,
she's
no.
walking
It's
Paxton,
oh,
that is him. I
oh
know.
my
I
god.
didn't know if you recognized him or not. So I love
No.
that you just found
I've
this
like
out.
I've seen a couple of photos, but I don't,
Yeah.
like, remember his face well enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is he the one who has, like, the line
The
about, like, you could
glasses.
lose all your money?
Yeah, yeah. So he's walking out, he has those little, like, sunglasses, he has that whole
He
little
was
bit with him.
so creepy!
Yeah.
Oh! I
Yeah.
didn't know he was such a good actor!
Yeah, he was, like, super excited, so Eli
Oh
Roth,
my
like, called him up
god.
and was like, "Hey, do you wanna do this?" Flew him he was in Japan at the time, flew him over, there's, like, a mini
Oh my
interview with him
god.
on the behind the scenes. Yeah, if you wanna pull up a picture of him, he,
Oh my
like,
god,
pops right
Travis
up.
also just said he's credited as himself, so that's, like, who the character is.
Do you wanna know why he was credited as
Why?
himself? Is
Oh,
because Eli Roth thought it would be funny, like a funny little inside joke to have his lore be that in the horror community that like, "Oh yeah, that's where actually Takashi goes in
oh
his
my
spare
god.
time."
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's, like, my new
it's a
favorite
little
part of the
inside
movie.
joke.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Oh my
as
god.
himself for that
I'm
reason.
I cannot describe to you how delighted I am by this,
Yeah.
Al.
And he loved it. He was like, "This is so fun." He was
My
so
god.
excited to say what like, leave his mark on the film with his cameo. Loved working with Eli Roth. He called him, he said he had extraordinary energy, and it was
Oh
a
my
very cute little
god.
interview that he
That's
did. I
adorable.
know. I love that, like, Eli had referenced auditions so much and was able to get the director out and the direct like,
That's
that's, like, what the
yeah,
horror community is about, in my
truly.
opinion. It's just, like, all of us, we're big
We're a
fucking nerds.
family. Yeah,
Oh,
we're a big nerdy family.
that's nicer of you to say. I'm like, "We're fucking nerds, and we nerd out about this shit, and we're
It's
also a family."
true. Yeah,
Big
a
nerdy
family of
family.
nerds, yeah.
Yes. We also get some crew members, so he pretty much had, like, every crew member that was working on this, like, kind of made some appearance, so, like, there's no extras.
Oh my
It's
god, I did
all,
this
like,
too
crew
on my
members. Oh my
movie.
god, yeah. So he was just like, "Come on, you'll come in
Mhm.
here." So pretty much it seems like everyone kind of had something.
Oh my god.
Specifically the production accountant, Mark,
Mhm.
he is in a poster in the background. So that there's a fictional rock band called, the Buc I don't know how you say his last name, Bacunis?
Oh.
Bacchus. It's the production accountant's last
Oh my
name,
god.
and the essential elements, so that is the accountant, and then the other members of the band are on that
Mhm.
poster. We have some co-producers, we have a costume designer, and then we have Eli Roth himself in there, so
That's
they
so
make their little cameo
cute.
together. Um, and the last thing I wanna break up is we almost got Paul Giamatti in Hostel. Same.
What?
Same, and I have some, like, fun facts. So, Eli Roth apparently had met Paul Giamatti while in
Mhm.
Prague. Well, Paul was filming The Illusionist at the time,
Oh
and
my
so they both
god.
kind of, like, met up and talked about him being in the movie, but obviously, like, things kind of happened. He was gonna be a murder
Mhm.
client, and so it didn't pan out. But when I was, like, looking up stuff, back in 2024, it was announced that Eli Roth is actually gonna create a revival Hostel TV series. Paul
Oh.
Giamatti and it is confirmed as of, like, 5 days ago,
Oh
things are
my
happening.
god.
Paul Giamatti is going to be a lead actor in that
Oh my god.
revival. So
It's
it's
all
he came
happening.
back, and I think that's so cute that after, like,
That's
all of these
adorable.
years. Yeah,
Oh
I
my god,
can't
love.
imagine that little face popping up. I would hope it was Paul Giamatti as Paul Giamatti, would have also
Yeah,
been really funny.
that he is also one of the
Yeah.
clients. Maybe Takashi introduced him to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought so that is my cast. We are done with that part. I feel like I have so much more to say than I was originally intending to.
How's your head
So
doing? Are you feeling okay?
I'm good. I'm coming out of I took the ibuprofen at the right point.
Good.
Again, I think I
Love.
told you guys that I'm jazzed. Talking about
Mhm.
torture porn is making my own torture feel better. I don't know.
Yes.
Is that crazy how that works?
This is why we love
um
horror, baby.
Yeah, I am gonna try and get through this for you all and myself included. But,
Mhm.
budget, we kinda talked about it. Eli Roth had kind of initially planned to do it for 3,000,000. I'm not
Mhm.
even gonna make you take a stab. He kept pretty true to that. He ended up doing it for 4,800,000. So I think
Oh.
yours is way more low budget than mine, but
It
4.8
is, yeah.
I don't think
But
is
that's
too
still
bad.
small. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
especially, like, given that he had a local crew, it sounds like, but all the actors
Mhm.
had to be moved in and had
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
travel and, like, be
Yep.
housed and all that stuff, so
Yeah, yeah. So, makes sense. Also, marketing, I think
Mhm.
they spent a lot of money on as well, which we will talk about
Mhm.
marketing. I do have some information on that, which I'm
Cool.
always so happy to find.
Mhm.
Um, Location, so they filmed for around 40 days. They primarily
Wow.
filmed I know. primarily filmed in the Czech Republic during the spring of 2005, and then the torture chamber kind of indoor scenes were shot
Mhm.
in an abandoned building in a Prague hospital, which
Ooh,
we're going to talk about in a second.
love.
Eli Roth said that when it came to filming, the hardest part was actually when the shoot ended. He had to go back to the editing room. He said, I loved editing. I had a great time with our editor,
Mhm.
but I fell in love with Prague and it was hard to let
Mm.
go. I loved being overseas. I had no problem fitting into the culture in the Czech Republic. I wish I could have
Mhm.
shot 120 days instead of 40. So
Aw.
a
This
little
does
bit
remind me,
there.
one of the only lines that I really, really liked in that first, Amsterdam part was
Hmm.
where somebody says that she's from Prague, and,
Hmm.
one of the guys says, "Oh, Prague's cool." Kafka. That killed me.
That line is so good. A lot of, like, random trying to relate references,
Yeah!
specifically the Kafka one, got
That
a
was
huge laugh out of me
so
too.
funny. Yeah. The delivery was also just,
Kafka,
like,
yeah.
incredible.
You're like, "You idiots.
Yeah.
You idiots."
Yeah.
So
Americans be like that.
oh god, it's so tough. So the interior of the slaughterhouse, like I said, was
Mhm.
filmed on a real location, which I think was functioning at the
Oh my
time because
god.
they were in a separate wing. So they were in a closed wing, building 10.
Mhm.
The hospital was built in 1910. And that wing had been closed for about 50 years. And
Ooh.
apparently, some really intense patients were in there. And I couldn't confirm this, so I'm gonna say it, but I couldn't find it was on, like, a
Mhm.
bunch of, like, like,
Mhm.
top fun
Mhm.
facts about Hostel, but, like, no
Yeah.
sources to them.
Great.
It was said that Eli Roth played classical music to make it feel a little bit, like, vibier in there when they were filming in there. I love
Ooh.
to think that he
I like
would.
to
He
imagine that,
seems
yeah.
like he would.
Mhm.
So I thought that was, like, fun. I can't source
That's
it, though,
cute, yeah.
so take it for what you will. And then another little, like, fun horror reference we get is
Mhm.
the room that they're staying in the hostel is room 237, which we know is a Shining reference.
I did notice
So
that
fun.
one.
I know
Yeah,
you did. I was
loved
like, you
that.
probably sniffed out those Shining references in every film. So here's where we kind of take the pin out of the kind of
The
the
second
first half of the
half?
film,
Yeah.
yeah, feeling different from the second. So visual
Mhm.
storytelling, Eli Roth said, like I said, wanted it to feel as real as possible, but he
Mhm.
also kind of like he didn't want you to notice these like slight shifts that he had from the
Mhm.
first half to the second. So some obvious ones are camera movements. As we do in horror, we kind of go from these
Mhm.
big sweeping crane shots and looking over the city, and then we get into more handheld as we do. That's
Mhm.
nothing new. Some other things I thought were kind of fun was we also get like a really vibrant color palette in the front because we're into clubs, things like
Mm,
that.
mhm.
And then he uses the words, the color slowly gets drained away, which I just love.
Mm,
And
mhm.
then lastly, he mentions everyone's like young and hot at the beginning, and then they go old and gray. I keep having to say like old and
Ah,
ugly, old
that's
and gray.
so funny.
Yeah, so they kind of descend into this just like
Mhm.
purgatory nightmare that they're in. So those were kind of like the 3 things that you can really pay attention to a little bit more as you kind of
Interesting.
rewatch it. He was hoping in first watch people don't notice that, and hopefully by the second
Mhm.
watch people are a little bit more aware of those things happening. Gore and practical effects. I don't have a ton, but like I said, Eli Roth always loves to kind of reference other people. He talks about
Mhm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He really wanted the makeup effects to look real and not cartoony. He
Mhm.
wanted them to be really grisly and bloody. Again,
Mhm.
kind of giving homage to Texas Chainsaw a lot. We worked with Can Be, as I always mention, they are my effects team on almost every other movie I feel like I cover. They are back this time. We specifically have Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger working on this as the supervisors.
Mhm. When I saw
Um,
their names in the credit, I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
I was gonna have some juicy
it's
stuff
like
about
yeah,
them."
I don't have like a ton actually.
If it makes you
Um,
feel better,
uh,
I found literally 0 about the gore in Saw. So, like,
okay,
it's yeah.
why don't they do that? Why don't they do that?
I mean, I have some thoughts
I
on
was
why
like,
for Saw when we get there,
okay,
but
okay, yeah, I was like kind of disappointed to hear. So if you guys were looking for that, too
it's
bad.
not here. Yeah.
There are some like behind the scenes stuff you can watch them doing. Again, they worked on Cabin Fever with Eli
Mm.
Roth, so the movie right before this. They said that Eli Roth had reached out to them around Thanksgiving time, and then they both got the script around Christmas. thought it was really fucked up. They were like, absolutely, they had nightmares reading it. They were like, absolutely, we want to do this.
Amazing.
They had meetings in February, and then end of March, they were already on set shooting. So
Whoa.
and they were that's what they said too. They were like, holy shit, this moved
Wow.
really fucking fast. They also worked with effects artist Kevin Wasner in Prague. So he did Fight Club, Walking Dead, Splice, X Pearl Maxine, and then recently also did Sinners. So if you want to see,
Mm.
he goes from Hostel to Sinners. So you can have a fun double feature seeing the progression of his work if you want to.
Damn.
Yeah, so really fast timeline on stuff. There were some
Mhm.
fun behind the scenes where they had these little metal like backpacks on with like long hoses, almost like when you're like spraying for like bugs
Oh
outside.
my
And they were
god.
just like spraying the extras with blood. And I'm like, I want that job.
That
I
does sound
want
so
that.
fun.
That sounds so fun. Me and you just hosing
Oh
people
my
down with
god.
blood.
Yeah,
What a
we'd have a
dream.
blast. That
What a
is the
dream.
dream. One day.
Yeah, one day. They actually ended up using over 150 gallons of blood on
Whoa.
this. Shit ton of blood, which I guess is 3 times the amount they used for cabin fever. So I'm sure Eli Roth was like, we have to make it more
Yeah.
bloody, please.
I need
As they
more,
did.
more.
More. And the last kind of fact I have actually about this is Jennifer Lim's. So, Kana, her
Mhm.
kind of like burn face, dangly eye makeup,
Mhm. Oh.
which is my
Oh.
favorite. It
It's
horrifies me to a
the
level.
cut. Oh. Mm.
The cut, and then as soon as I saw her dangly, I was like, "I remember this part. I love this part." And then the goo that comes from her, it's
It's funny because
so gross.
right before that scene, I'd been
Oh,
thinking to
no.
myself,
Oh,
for
no.
an Eli Roth torture porn film, this really isn't that gory. And then that
And
happened,
then
and I was like, God damn it.
he was like, "Hold my eyeball.
Yeah,
Hold
literally.
my eyeball."
Oops, I dropped it.
Yeah, that I remember, like, the audible gasps and, like,
Oh,
how sickened people were in the
yeah.
theaters in
Well,
that
and it's
specific
so
moment.
there's absolutely no reason a human body would do that. It's just so
No, yeah, it's
gross.
not
Like,
infected. Like, she just got this burn. Also,
yeah,
why do we have to cut it?
right. Is that
Can't we
really
leave it?
helping? I
Like,
don't
I
think
get you
that's
don't
gonna
wanna
help that much.
she was
Like,
overstimulated by it. She's like,
Jesus
"I can't feel
Christ.
this on my face. Get it off me."
You don't wanna
Bless
just try
her.
and, like, pop it back in there?
Yeah,
That feels to
right.
me like the natural
Oh
thing,
no,
like,
just actually, you know what? Cut it. I'll cut it from there.
ugh.
Yeah, so she was it took a few hours for her to have that makeup applied, obviously. She said she was also so horrified by looking at herself in the mirror that she almost started crying upon seeing
Fair.
herself, and she does
Yeah.
say she understands why her character would wanna commit suicide after that, which I'm like, "No, don't do that.
I
Please,
yeah,
come on.
no.
He went bad for you. Go for it."
Yeah, like, that ending is really brutal.
It's
Really,
super
yeah.
yeah, I yell at the screen for that one.
Mhm, mhm.
So moving on from that, this is a part that I'm super excited about that I had no idea. Again, a film like Hostel, you would not think there's so much thought going into a torture porn
Mhm.
film,
And
but
yet
and yet we have composer Nathan Barr, who was
ooh.
first used on Cabin Fever. Um, he's kind of like a horror guy. He's done
Mhm.
Club Dread. Beer Fest isn't horrifying to me. Hostel 2, The Last Exorcism, True Blood, and 2024 Salem's Lot, which I love. So
Oh,
he's
interesting.
done a ton of shit. So
Mhm.
he was kind of like considered this like young composer at the time. I didn't
Mhm.
realize Nathan Barr had actually started his career in 1996, where he would have been around 23 years old. He worked 8 months as an assistant to one of my favorite composers of all time and on my top 5 Spotify Wrapped, Hans Zimmer.
Oh my god.
So he got like
Whoa.
oh my god, I can't even
That's quite a
imagine.
pedigree, yeah.
Truly. So he kind of helped him on As Good as It Gets, the music on that and The Prince of Egypt, and then kind of has gone on his own career. But at the time of Hostel, he was like everyone refers to him as like he's like 31 years old, and they're like this young composer. So composer Nathan Barr wrote a
Mhm.
43-minute and 23-track film score, which was performed by the Prague Philharmonic
Oh my god.
Orchestra, and they used a historic instrument. There's only a few, which is the glass harmonica.
Oh, that's so cool!
Which is, if you guys don't know, is a instrument invented by Benjamin Franklin in
Mhm.
1761.
Mm.
It's often he refers or had referred to it as his favorite invention at the time. Mozart loved it, Beethoven loved it, and it's this really cool. Oh, I meant to send you a picture of it. Everyone use your imaginations. Imagine a bunch of glass bowls stacked in descending order, but flip it on its side. And that is what this looks
Mhm.
like. And if you're wondering what it sounds like, I said if you've ever seen Miss Congeniality, the part where she does her
Yeah.
talent and wets her fingers and touches the glass, which I feel like anyone around my age, like we all did that as
Oh,
kids. That's
yeah,
what it sounds
absolutely.
like. It's
Mhm.
super creepy. There's a bunch of videos on it. You can actually see Nathan Barr on the behind the scenes making of on YouTube play around with it, and he plays these pieces which I don't think stick out in the film as
Mhm.
much as like I almost wish they stuck out more. There's this motif that he plays, and you kind of hear it throughout the film. They sometimes also play it with strings, so you'll kind of hear it in various different
Mm.
instruments throughout.
Mhm.
But basically, so picture these glass bowls, they're stacked on their side, they're spinning, and then you have your wet little fingers on them, and then it's just making these really creepy noises. And I'm so sad that these are very rare, they're very expensive. There's not a lot, but he kind of used these tritones throughout, and
Yeah!
it's just like they spend so much time creating these like really eerie tones, and these kind of descending tones, and it's so fun. So everyone just go on YouTube; it's on there. It's really cool to hear. Sienna, I will send you after. I'm so sorry, I meant to
I've
prep,
I've
but
heard one before, don't worry, I'm
okay.
like, yeah,
It's so cool. Hostel, though, of all things, like, sought
I
out this really
fucking love
rare
that.
instrument to
That's
make this
so
beautiful
cool.
music
Ugh, love.
for this film. And then we have one more little like fun horror movie reference, which is when they're at like the disco scene when they're with the girls. I think it's when they're oh yes, when they're in the disco. There's a song called How Do by the Sneaker Pimps. I guess it's like a cover of it
Mhm.
or it's original. It is a cover and like the same song that Willow's song from 1973's Wicker Man, which I've not seen that
Oh,
movie
that's so
either.
cool. Okay, yeah,
And
obviously we
so
have to do that
yeah.
soon. Very
Which
springy.
is yeah, that's kind of all I know about it is kind of like I've seen the trailer before, but if you
Mhm.
guys are like me and don't know about it, it kind of nods to the fact that both films are about townspeople conspiring against an outsider. So they kind of threw in that little nugget for
Mhm.
everybody. We are
Interesting.
rounding the corner with the rating. So I have a fun little fact about the rating. You would naturally think this would be a NC-17 film. It is a R film.
Mhm.
Eli Roth, when creating it, actually knew he was like, they're gonna give me an NC-17. I am
Mhm.
just going to shoot it like that. I don't care that
Mhm.
it gets that. I want to kind of do what I want to do.
Mhm.
And because he didn't want to cut out anything. He was like, I'm just gonna get what I get. They're gonna throw that at me, whatever.
Mhm.
The MPA, in a wild choice, gives it an R. Doesn't ask him to change anything. I think like he took out edits of his own. Didn't I know an R, and so he was like, "Oh, okay,
Okay.
thanks." And so
Mm.
yeah, he's like, "Okay, that sounds fine. Thanks, bye. I'll just take that." So yeah, it gets an R, and he did not have to do anything for that R rating, which
Okay, that
is
is
insane. And he leaves a lot of gore off screen, which we've talked about in like a lot of our films,
mhm.
especially
Mhm.
as of late, like leaving it kind of off screen to your imagination, which he does. If you pay attention, we don't
Yeah.
see a lot of like direct things happen for the most part until kind of when Paxton's character is then killing these guys is really when we
Mhm.
see that gore. But I was aghast with him.
That is
I hate
really
the
shocking.
MPAA.
I feel like I'm just gonna spoil this now. The MPAA did give Saw an NC-17 and it had to get cut down to get an R. And Saw
See,
is
they're
so
those
much less
motherfuckers
gory.
so much less. Those
Literally
motherfuckers, they're
there's like 2
wild.
scenes that even have any blood in Saw, honestly. Like it is so like
The
it's
I'm
comparatively
like
so tame.
I'm sickened, like truly
Yeah.
sickened by Hostel.
Mhm.
It makes me like curl my toes. Sorry,
Yeah,
ew,
like
bad
there's
imagery for everyone.
actual
But like,
great
ew.
imagery for Tarantino.
Made you guys all do the same thing as I said that. But you know what I mean? Like that one makes me sick and Saw it like
Yeah.
in no way makes me feel the same
No,
way
it's like there's literally
with how it's
only
handled.
one scene where you see like blood really being shed on camera, and it's not
Yeah.
even somebody dying.
They're just making shit up. I
That's
hate the MPAA.
wild.
I have
Wild.
strong yeah. So,
Yeah.
he just took that and ran with it. So, I thought that was really interesting. We never really have a lot of stories about the rating and the MPAA. So,
Mhm.
that's our little nugget. There is a director's cut ending. He had actually initially
Mm.
wrote it this way and he shot it this way, and test audiences were like, "We do not like this. This is a little too ambiguous. Please give us something else."
Interesting.
So, the ending that we get, and you can see this on the DVD extras if you
Mhm.
have it. The ending we get, we know that he follows the businessman in. He drowns him
Mhm.
in the toilet. It's horrifying. It's gross. In the original version he wrote and ended up shooting, was he follows the businessman. The businessman has his daughter. The businessman goes in the bathroom. The daughter goes in the bathroom. When he comes out, the businessman sees like his daughter's like teddy bear. And so we kind of get to this shot where Paxton is then on the train with the daughter. And in the script, Paxton kills the daughter right then and there on the train as he goes. In the version they shot, he, I think, just ambiguously kind of, they just like leave on the train together. And so we don't know if he's going to
Whoa.
kill the daughter or whatever, but it kind of leaves the businessman in the state of like, oh my God, he has this thing
Yeah.
really precious to me. Test audiences
That's
hated it.
honestly, so do I. Yeah.
I
Like,
don't
don't
like
bring
it
her into
either.
this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'm like, I don't care about anyone. Like, I don't care about anyone. Just kill each
yeah.
other.
Exactly.
That's what
Like,
I want.
well, and
Kill
also it's
him.
like she's not in the game. Like she's not involved in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Like she's not been a
Absolutely.
character. Keep it to the
Yeah.
ones who are characters.
Exactly. So, I'm very happy it is on the DVD. I've not watched it
Interesting.
actually.
Yeah, I'm
But
fine
yeah,
without
not a
that.
fan. So that's the only kind of change that we get. I know I thought this was gonna be a short episode. Here we are. My headache
I
is
knew
like
it wasn't going to
miraculously
be a
going away.
short episode. I
I thought for
knew.
me, I was gonna have to saw off my own head for this one. So, marketing and release. This is where I kind of found some fun little nuggets of information. So, obviously, very strategically, they had played the Hostel trailer before screenings of Saw 2, as well as running on MTV, Comedy
Makes
Central,
a lot of
Spike. So,
sense.
yeah, they
Mhm.
put it right in front of their target audience, me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, as kind of like a lot of hostile as a lot of like horror marketing campaigns did,
Mhm.
they kind of use these 3 tactics, for promoting the film. So they obviously did the inspired by true events.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
did the what if scenario. So one Hostel commercial kind of said, "What if the voice, the blood, and the flesh was yours?" Which I think is a really effective tactic, for fucked up people
Mm.
like me. Third, there was a warning to potential audiences that the movie was unbearably scary, and another Hostel spot on TV declared that at advanced screenings, paramedics were called in response to theater goers. So it kind of like had this intensity of like, oh my God, you've been warned, you have to see this. But that last one was actually true. There
Oh.
was a first screening of the film at the 2005
Mhm.
Toronto Film Festival. 2 ambulances were called on people due to having extreme reactions to the film.
Wow.
One man left the theater during Josh's torture scene, so the very first torture
Mhm.
scene that we see. He fainted, tumbled down an escalator, and then a woman thought she was
Oh
having
my
a heart attack during
god. Oh my
Paxton's torture scene. So we really got one for
god.
one.
Mhm.
Eli Roth in an interview, which I'm like, "Oh my god, buddy, this was actually the worst thing I feel like he said." He was just like, "Oh man, I wish like they actually like died because that would have been really good PR for the film." I'm like, "No, you were doing so well up until now. Don't say that."
So close.
He was
So
joking,
close.
but yeah.
Yeah.
And then in another instance, Harry Knowles, who we talked about earlier, the film
Mhm.
critic and friend of Eli,
Mhm.
he was leaving a screening of Hostel at the Alamo Draft House with friends and said there was vomit like all over the wall, like someone had run out and like threw up everywhere. And so he actually like took a picture of it. It's on
Jesus
his
Christ.
blog
Oh
and
my
took a picture of
god.
it and he was like, there's no better uh
Advertisement.
2 thumbs up that you could give a
Yeah.
film than the
Jesus
film that's supposed to
Christ.
sicken people and somebody ran out and threw up. So
That is
it
what he
did
was going
happen.
for. Yeah, goddamn.
Absolutely.
Truth in advertisement. Here's the
Truly.
proof. God.
The proof is in the vomit. Uh, I almost said vomit twice. Box office. So it released in theaters across the US January 2006. It was released by Lionsgate and Sony Pictures, and then in Czech Republic by Falcon.
Mhm.
And it actually knocked the Chronicles of Narnia off of its spot as number one spot at the box
Whoa,
office,
that's
right?
wild.
And I'm like, of all films, like
Dude,
this,
yeah,
I think it's
really.
like a Christian film
Oh, it
too. Like,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I
That's
learned way late in the
so
game.
funny. Yeah. I mean, it's,
I got to the
like a
last
lot of
film and I was like, is this about God?
Is this play about us?
As someone who grew up with like no religion, I was like, wait a minute, what are they doing here?
I like I had the same thing with the books where I like got like
Oh,
3
funny.
books in and was like, is this
Wait a minute.
actually super Christian?
Right.
Is this lion Jesus?
Yeah, yeah, I'm so glad I wasn't the only one.
You were
So
not the only
I'm
one.
happy that Hustle said, "Scoot the fuck
I
over."
love that.
I'm gonna take this with my torture porn film. So knocked it out of the spot. It's I don't know. Do you want to take a guess at? So it earned. I don't even know. I'm gonna have you guess like worldwide what it like overall roughly made. And this is not including like DVD sales at all. So I can't even imagine.
I want to say between 125 and 150 mil.
You really thought it did way better than it did.
No! Oh
It did
no!
really good. It did 82 mil. So
Okay, see I'm unfortunately giving away part of the Saw half of this.
oh my
But
god.
yeah.
I don't let's move on
Yeah.
because I'm like gagged at what that's gonna be.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
82 mil, so it did like amazing. It has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 60
Oh.
from critics, 53 from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. F
Oh,
everybody.
interesting.
Letterboxd gave it 2.7 out of 5, which I actually
Mhm.
think is really nice.
Mm.
And then this is where we kind of pull the pin out of how Slovakia and the Czech Republic
No,
were
no.
not happy with the release of
Mhm.
Hostel. Obviously, they were disgusted. They were outraged. They
I imagine this cat
specifically
wasn't great for their tourist industry.
no. So yeah, they were like, you portrayed us as being underdeveloped,
Mhm.
poor, uncultured, like they had like war and prostitution, all these things. So they said it really did damage their reputation. They thought foreigners were going to think it's a dangerous place. And they were like, we're not. A member of parliament from Slovakia, he what did he say? He oh yeah, he was like, all of you guys should be offended by like everyone from our country should be offended by this film. Like no one should be happy with it. Eli Roth responded to that saying, "My film is not a geographical work, but aims to show Americans' ignorance of the world around them." He's like, this isn't about you. This is about how Americans are horrible people and they got
Yeah.
what's happening to them. He also points out like saying, despite Texas Chainsaw being a movie, people are still going to fucking Texas. He's
Right.
like, it
This
has
is
nothing to
true.
do with that. And yeah, the tourist board of Slovakia actually invited Eli Roth on an all expense paid
Oh
trip to their
god.
country to be like, hey, we're not just rundown factories and kids who will kill you for
Jesus
bubblegum,
Christ.
please. I don't know if he took it, but I'm like,
Oh my
I would
god.
want to, but also be like,
Yeah.
do you want me to come there? Why are you
Yeah.
paying?
Is
Why is this free?
is my movie going to happen in real life
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
come
yeah. He's like,
here?
you say that, but there's
Do
gotta
you
be one place.
do you have me staying in a hostel?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
Where am I staying?
my
I
god.
mean, it really like affected me. I'm like, I won't stay in a
Mhm.
hostel. I know people swear by them and solo
Yeah.
travel and like have great experiences. Like this movie just fucked up a lot of things for
Yeah,
me
I've
in that
I've
regard.
stayed in a lot of hostels before, and I'm gonna feel significantly less comfortable after watching
Yeah.
this.
Which I'm like, it almost what's even like this movie's called Hostel and he talks about it too. Like it doesn't even take place at the hostel. They just happen
Right.
to stay at this place. It's all the
Mhm.
things around them. It's not really this one thing, but you name a movie like that and
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? I also want to kind of bring not awareness but kind of talk about how again the very 2004ness of this movie. There is a wonderful, if you hate this movie for its homophobia and its misogyny, as
Mhm.
you should hate it for those things, I think.
Mhm.
I have a quote from an amazing review by Kevin Boyle from nobutlisten.com. I
Mhm.
kind of just like loved his word choice in what he said. So I'm just going to read a snippet of it. Sienna, I will send it to
Amazing.
you because I feel like you'll
Yes,
really
please.
like it. But he said, quote, Women are decoration here. Tits filling the background of shots for no good reason. Sex position taking to a whole new level. Every
Mhm.
man nothing more than a lolloping, immature horn dog whose mind is blown by a set of tits and reverse cowgirl, and through whose eyes we see an entire cum-soaked world of Hostel. If it's really what Hostel believes men think about women, it despises both genders with equal fervor. I am no prude, but this level of bonerism is just downright boring and insulting to everyone involved.
Oh
So,
my god. Yeah, please
some
send
of
me
you
the
might
whole
agree with that.
review.
Yeah. Some of you might agree with that. I do have a lot of issues. Like, these were
Mhm.
the movies that I love and they were of my time. But
Mhm.
I also very much look back and I'm very ashamed of that time. And I'm very happy that I was not part of that in that
Mhm.
sense. But anyways, so nobutListen.com, Kevin Boyle, read that review. It's
Amazing.
really great.
That's
And
so
then
funny.
I mildly want to take out the pin out of the 9/11 comment I made earlier.
Mhm.
So Bloody Disgusting, that's who it was. Bloody Disgusting did a 10th anniversary editorial about
Mm.
Hostel, and so they talk about the parallels between the events of 9/11 and the movie,
Mhm.
really saying, quote, Paxton represents the United States pre, during, and post 9/11. He was
Mm.
relatively innocent and excited about the future while traveling through Europe. Then he was attacked and maimed in the factory, and at the end managed to emerge victorious, defeating the man responsible for his suffering. Yet he still couldn't go back to how he was before. Too much had changed for him. So it's
Mm.
a really interesting article. I think there's also so much conversation just talking about like travel post 9/11,
Mhm.
and I think views of everyone around the world kind of change
Big
in
time.
that
Yeah.
moment. So I really love that they kind of did like a
Mhm.
10-year kind of retrospective on that. So that is
Interesting.
available to read for you guys as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. I want to wrap up. Obviously people kind of compare this film to Saw, obviously.
Mhm.
And I'm going to kind of end us with a quote from Eli Roth talking about that so we can get
Ooh.
it from
Oh,
his
that's so
mouth and not from
perfect.
ours. And then
Mhm.
we can go into yours because I am wildly over my time. So when asked a comparison of Hostel to Saw, he kind of talks about Saw 2 just because
Mhm.
that's was
It
of the
came out at the
time.
same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, everyone will always compare it to Saw since it's closer in tone, and Saw is a violent movie, but it's a puzzle movie. It's a
Mhm.
different kind of horror movie. You're trying to figure out what's happening. And then he talks about specifically Saw 2, saying, quote,
Mhm.
it's fun, it's a mystery, and there's twists and turns. The girl falling in needles, spoiler, that's my favorite one. It's pretty fucked up, but I don't feel like what's going to happen to me. You know what I mean? So talking
Mhm.
about the realism and the bullshit past that they
Mhm.
did the script, he goes, it doesn't resonate in that way. It's a scary movie and it's awesome and it's fun. I'd
Mhm.
be lucky to be compared to a movie like Saw 2. It was a really fun movie and it did great. So if people want to do that, that's up to them. And so
Hmm.
that's his take on it. I'm sure he's happy to be involved in any horror conversation.
Yeah.
Eli Roth is very much his own type of horror director. I
Eh,
mean, he goes on to do Hostel 2. There is a Hostel 3, which I do not
Oh,
believe he's involved in, and I have not
interesting.
seen,
Mhm.
but he is going to be writing, directing, and producing the Hostel TV series. Again, like 5 days ago, there was an article talking about it. There's not much information about it, but I'm happy to
Interesting.
see him kind of this many years later jumping
Still,
back
yeah,
into that world. So,
finding fresh stuff to dive into
yeah.
there.
Yeah. So,
Interesting. Oh my God. There's so many parallels. There's so many things where like I
oh,
had to like
I
stop
love it.
myself on the way from like interjecting Saw
Yeah.
stuff. But like in
Sure.
particular, like I think the one thing that I'll say before the break is like, come prepared to talk more about 9/11 because like there's gonna be a lot more of that. So like just
Never
never
forget.
forget. Yeah, exactly. That's
Oh my god, amazing.
that's where we'll break, I
Oh my
think.
gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trav did confirm that Eli co-wrote Hostel 3, but he did not direct it. So
Ah,
I
interesting.
own all
Cool.
three, so I'm gonna be watching those probably in
Love.
the next week just to see. But
Mhm.
yeah, on that note,
Shall we take a break?
yeah, I think so.
And we'll
We'll
be
be
right
right
back.
back.
Well, welcome back, and
Oh
we're
my god.
back. Oops. The reason why I did that is because while we were on the break, Travis made the most terrible joke, which is in fact one of the taglines for the film. And I was so frustrated thinking about this tagline that I forgot how we do our intro. So sorry, everybody, but it's our momager's fault.
Listen, I feel like we like have a bad intro. We have a bad welcome back, and we have to honestly lead this out horribly because I'm
We
not letting us
do.
get away with like we
Yeah.
have to do
We
something.
can't get one good one. Yeah.
No, I'm not allowing it. It has to happen in threes. It has
Yeah.
to. Welcome
So
back. Oops.
I'm so sorry, but also I'm not. Let's hear some terrible
Oh
taglines,
my
shall we?
god. Yeah. I'm so excited
So
about Saw.
honestly, this had probably the most taglines I've ever had to choose from, and so I did not list all of them.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of them are either really, really good or they're like the good kind of bad.
Okay.
The first of which is what Travis just said to us on the break, which is, "Dare you see Saw?"
Is that was real?
That is the tagline for the English release of Saw. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Did you
So
see Saw?
that's why I completely fucked up our welcome back. Um,
That's atrocious. Okay, I thought that was a
yep.
joke people said.
If
Okay.
only. Yeah, no, they actually used that. So that's it can only go up from
That's how we
there,
start.
right?
Yep.
The seesaw can only go the other direction.
Yeah. Push
So
back.
there's some really obvious ones like I want to play a game and let the games begin. There's two that seem to me to be a pair, which
Mhm.
is every piece has its puzzle and every puzzle has
Mm.
its pieces. Which
Mm. I
I
like that.
think those I imagine that's probably like two alt posters that would live
Yeah.
together. And the Australian tagline is actually a twist on these, which obviously, since they're from Australia, that's going to be an important one, which is how do you solve a puzzle with its pieces missing? Which I
Ooh.
just picture to the tune of how do you solve a problem like Maria from The Sound of
Yeah, I was gonna
Music.
say, why does it sound really familiar?
How do you solve
How you sound
a puzzle
like
with its
like
pieces missing? um,
That's
There's
funny.
also there's a couple that are quotes from the movie, like "How much blood would you shed to stay alive?" and "Oh yes, there will be blood." Um,
Oh.
and then there's one that I really really love, which is actually from the Denmark release, which is
Ooh.
"Death is a shortcut."
Uh,
I
see,
know.
it's not easy.
It's
It's not
so
easy.
good, right? Ugh, I
Death is
love.
a shortcut.
Death is a shortcut. That tells you so
Cool.
much about the
Way to
movie.
go, Denmark.
Um, but now, whoops, I'm gonna do something that I don't think that I've done before, which is we're starting with our film theory rant corner because it's
Ooh.
beefy. It
Is this where
is.
9/11 comes in?
This is where 9/11 comes in. How could you guess?
We definitely didn't talk about that 5 seconds ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Um,
Let's get into it.
So, which is partially like I felt like I haven't done like a really like research heavy film theory rant corner in a while, and much like
Mhm.
you, I came in with this kind of question about like where did the term torture porn come from? And
Yeah.
weirdly, I actually did not find the article that it originated from, but I was
Yeah.
looking for like what are definitions of torture porn,
Ooh.
and
Okay,
I
great.
found some really interesting stuff
Ooh, I
that we're
love
gonna dive
this.
into. So that's like I started with like, is Saw torture
Amazing.
porn and what is torture porn?
Yes. Oh my god, I
Um
love this.
so like you really teed me up like so perfectly for this. And I also kind of felt like that's why it needed to come first, was because it would be so related to
Absolutely.
yours too. So
Yeah. Oh,
anyway,
I'm excited.
so obviously you already brought up the term splatter film,
Mhm.
as we've been talking about the splat pack and all that good stuff, which like it's a related term. It's older, as you mentioned, but like I don't think they're quite the same. Like I don't think they're
Mhm.
interchangeable. To me, I would say like all torture porn films are a kind of splatter film, but not all splatter films are torture
Yes.
porn, right?
Agreed,
Does that
agreed.
feel, yeah? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I think of like Herschel Gordon Lewis, like the godfather of gore, like made those amazing, super gory 60s movies. I really love those. Those feel to me way too silly to be torture porn. Like
Mhm.
they're like,
Mhm.
they've got like that tomato soup blood, and that's like a really different kind of
Yeah.
horror than this, right? So that's kind of like the part of the history that I brought in. You brought in another big important chunk. And then I brought in some quotes from the filmmakers, and then I brought in some theory. So we're going to go kind
Ooh,
of
I
bit
love
by bit
this.
here.
I love
So
this.
I'm so glad. I got, like, really excited about this last night when I finally like, I had trouble finding, like, a good beefy academic piece about it, and then I found the perfect one and was like,
Oh,
"Ah,
oh, that's the
glorious."
best.
Such a good feeling. So anyway, here's James Wan's quote on it because obviously once the term, torture porn starts getting applied to Hostel, people
Yeah.
go back to James Wan and Lee Wanell and are like, this term torture porn is getting thrown around. What do you all think about
Yeah.
it? And Wan says, quote, journalists use that term without quite knowing what it means. I actually had one journalist tell me that, and I find it really ironic because I never set out to make a movie about torturing people. I think that the first Saw was really more of a psychological film about two people stuck in a room, and the traps and games that fans seem to embrace so much about now are really quite a small portion of the film. Years from now, when people forget about all of the negative connotations and look back at it, it's like you were part of a movement, like it or not, and that's
Mhm.
cool. So like he comes
Yeah.
down on the side of being just like it's not what we set out to do, but I also don't mind it
Yeah,
because
he's like, "That's how you feel like it is, and sure,
mhm,
but that's not" like, Hostel really did set if they would've had that term,
right.
they would've used it, you know? I don't think
Agreed. Yeah.
Saw would've like, they didn't use it, you know?
It wasn't really their goals were different, which is
Yeah,
interesting because they
absolutely.
are very similar films in some ways. But so here's Lee Wanell, who is obviously both our lead actor and screenwriter, and James Wan and Wanell co-created the idea together, and we'll talk a lot about who did what parts of that. But
Mm.
so Wanell, actually, a lot of my quotes for this episode are going to come from him. As you can imagine, being the screenwriter actor,
Yeah.
he's like very like loquacious about it. Like he's got a lot of like good juicy quotes and stuff. He likes to talk about
Yeah.
it. So here's one L. He says, quote, right around that time, I think in 2004, this subgenre of horror that existed in the underground for a long time, this extreme stuff, suddenly became palatable to mainstream audiences. People that would have previously never checked out films like Cannibal Holocaust or The Evil Dead suddenly we're going to films like Hostel and Saw.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to psychoanalyze that. I guess you could go on and say, well, it was right in the middle of a war and there were all these accusations of torture being thrown around in Iraqi prisons and stuff. But I'll let somebody with a degree in that stuff go into
Oh
that.
my god, that's amazing.
Um, which
So
we do
true,
in
though.
fact have somebody with a degree in that stuff who's going to go into it in
Yes,
just a
oops.
second. But then he kind of reflects on the term itself and goes on to say, quote, I guess the term torture porn doesn't affect me one way or the other. I don't love the term, nor do I really
Mhm.
hate it. For me, it's kind of hard to have any bad feelings about the term because I guess torture porn has given me a lot of good things, like being able to work in the film industry and work as a screenwriter. I guess I'm just thankful to be a part of a film that made it, and anything after that is a champagne problem, which I think is just like such a gracious
Uh,
response.
what a
Like,
yeah, I was gonna say both, like, Juan and his responses are, like, so perfect, where it's just a champagne problem also, I haven't heard that term in a hot
in
ass
a
minute.
long time. Yeah.
But
Let's
it's
bring that
perfect, it's
phrase
like
back.
yeah, truly. Yeah, those are great responses to that.
Which also, like, that was one of the things that I really took away from this because, again, I hadn't seen the film before. And
Mhm,
obviously, I've seen other, like, James Wan Lee Winnell films. Like, we covered Dead Silence on the podcast.
mhm,
But, like, I hadn't. That was your film to cover, not mine. And so, like, I hadn't done a whole lot of, like, in depth research into either of them. And reading about them, I was like, oh my God, these two men are so caring and thoughtful in
mhm.
their approach to filmmaking.
I
Um,
I only know, like, Lee or I almost blended their names, James Wan, like, that's who I love
mhm.
him. I, like, love him.
Yeah, after researching these, I'm like, like they're just so good.
Yeah.
These are the good ones.
Yes,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I it was just, James Wan's birthday too, which I think is so
oh, I love
applicable,
that. Perfect
on,
timing.
Thursday, so if everyone's
Oh my
listening
God,
on Monday,
amazing.
it was just last week,
Yeah,
yeah.
celebrate James Wan with us.
Yeah.
Um, So, Winnell's point regarding the connection to the war on terror is
Mhm.
something other folks have picked up on too. You kind of touched on it a little bit, and here's where I found this book. Oh my God, this book that I found, Al. It is called
Oh god.
Torture Porn in the Wake of 9/11, colon, Horror Exploitation and the Cinema of Sensation. Yeah.
I So I'm writing this down now.
I
I need
know!
a hard copy of this book. What a gem of a
I
find.
know. I was so excited, and, like, I haven't because I only
Oh,
found this last night. Obviously, I didn't have
yeah.
time to order the book
Like,
and read the whole thing, but I found enough of a preview of it that was
oh,
on the chapter that I really wanted to read, and so I
bless.
brought in a quote from it
Oh,
because
hell yeah.
the author's name is Aaron Kerner.
Mhm,
The title obviously kind of says it all. This is like a very politically responsive genre, which is not
mhm.
something that I'd really thought about
Me
before
either.
diving into this.
Yeah.
But it is really like dealing with America having to face itself as an on-camera torture in the wake of things like Abu Ghraib, which obviously we didn't know that happened at the time that Saw came out. Like that news
Mhm,
story
mhm.
broke, I think, like in April of 2004, and this came out it premiered at Sundance in January of
Oh, wow.
2004, so, like, that wasn't something that was on the writers' minds at the time, but it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
like, whether that was intended or not, it came across in the art, and I think it's
Yeah. It's
so
in the
interesting
air.
when that happens. So here's the quote from, Torture Porn in the Wake of 9/11. In there, the author cites another author, a scholar named Jeremy Morris, to give this really fantastic definition of what a torture porn film is.
Mm,
And he has five main qualities that we're going to go down. The
okay.
first is the torture in a torture porn film is non-interrogational. So it is not torture to get somebody to reveal a specific piece of information.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Two, torture is the source of horror. The torture is the point, the pain is the point.
mhm.
It is less the threat of death than the threat of pain almost.
Ooh, yep.
Um Three, and you're gonna love this because it
Oh gosh.
so ties into so many of the quotes from your section on Hostel. The transformation of torturers and victims the transformation of torturers and victims prompts role reversals.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the torturer becomes the victim becomes the
Yes.
torturer.
Yeah.
Four, the reversal of victim turned torturer justifies the exhibition of violence. So that
Oh.
idea of the person who has been put through this enormous
Mhm.
pain is now reenacting that.
Yep.
That like quality of retribution makes us feel more on board with witnessing this.
Yep.
And five, and I'm so fascinated by this because this was something that I was thinking about before I found this article as I was like sitting there to myself going like, what is a torture porn film? But
Mhm,
what isn't
mhm.
a torture porn film? Five, and these are all quotes. Most importantly, there is a realist element. Torture horror is never supernatural, magical, or
Yep.
religious, at least not primarily. Which I think this goes a lot to even what you were saying about the blood.
Yeah.
It's like,
Um, Eli Roth even mentions too, he, like, specifically didn't wanna make a horror movie that had like, dealt with supernatural or, like, any kind of, like, elements like that.
mm-hmm.
He wanted it based in reality, and so that's so funny that he was like he hit and knew all of these 5 things before there was even a term for
Right?
it.
Before this
Wild.
before this genre even existed, and I think it's, like,
Yeah.
that's such a good definition, and it really, like,
It's perfect.
helped me kind of think about why I was so intrigued by what these films
Mhm.
were doing, and it, like, really
Yeah.
does kinda tie right back into 9/11, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
boy,
I
you can really
mean,
see,
yeah.
like, the connections there.
That's so
And it does feel
cool.
like if there were a supernatural element, like, if there were, like, a vengeful spirit torturing
Right.
someone, I don't think it would feel like torture porn.
No. Not at
Like,
all.
even if it were treating that violence in the same way, it's like, that's a different kind of horror movie.
Yeah,
That's
wildly
so
so.
interesting to
Why
me.
it's so funny, yeah, like, the rules of torture like, not even rules of torture
Yeah.
porn, but it feels like rules of torture porn. Oh,
Totally,
I love
totally.
that.
Which I just like, oh, so juicy. I feel like I
Yeah,
know
that's
what it is now.
great. That's
And
great.
And it's also the last point kind of in this film theory extended rant corner that I wanted to bring in is about gender because gender sure does seem to function differently in these horror films than in like a Carol Clover type 80s slasher, right?
Yeah.
Um and I found a quote from Carrie Elwes talking about this. And
Ooh.
he says, quote, "To be honest, I didn't see it like that at the time, talking about torture porn.
Mhm.
I think that if you'd had a woman chained to the wall, the film would have had a whole different connotation. I couldn't really tell you why I saw it like that. I'm glad it wasn't a male-centric film and that there were important female characters in it. I'm grateful for that, and I think we were quite diverse. The idea of playing a quote-unquote final man wasn't really something that concerned me. But I was thinking about this and I was like, yeah, both of these films have a final man.
Mhm.
They're it's really not about women being tortured. Like there
Yeah, no.
are a couple of elements of women under threat in Saw, but
Mhm.
they really are not the ones who have the worst violence done to them.
No.
Um and so I was sitting with that question and thinking, it's really, I don't have an answer to this, but I wanted to like raise the question of like, how is torture porn different when it's men being tortured? Because it really does feel different.
Well, that's here's the thing too, just like the flat out like women have so much to fear, and I think for
Yeah.
men to finally be fearful of other men is a really
Mhm.
satisfying thing to see in torture porn films or like films like these, right? Where it's just like
Mhm.
there's always the woman and it's always the it's just like to have and I don't know if that answers your question, but it was something that like it felt so nice to be like I'm hoping these, like, types of movies make men squirm in a way that they
Yeah,
don't often
absolutely.
have to fear, but I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is a very real thing for you." Whereas I feel
Mhm.
like there's so many things, and that's why horror is so diverse with female leads or female
Mhm.
presenting leads or, like, different stories that aren't just, like, men
Mhm.
focused, and so it is so satisfying, and again, I don't think it
Yeah.
answers your question, but it is satisfying to see these, like, final men because 'cause I'm like, "You're
Totally.
seeing it. You can
Totally.
squirm in the same way."
Well, and it's also like I feel like if both of these films were shot exactly the same way, presented the same way, had all of the same dialogue and story and all of that,
Mhm, mhm.
but they were women in the main roles in both of them, I think it would feel much more sexualized, even if that
Yeah,
wasn't the filmmaker's intent at all.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it is part of what fascinates me so much about that torture porn label is I'm like, it really feels like for like horror is a genre that often is so sexual and
Mhm.
these films really don't feel like that to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm so curious about that. And again, I'm like, I'm only just diving into this genre myself. I don't have like a firm thesis to give, but it's
I
something I
know, but
really want to
I wanna go
explore.
me too, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it in that way too, and I'm wondering how many of these are, like, is this, like, the male version
Mhm.
of, like I don't know. I don't know how to put
Right.
words to that yet because 'cause I'm just, like I'm realizing too, like, how many of these films kind of do have that element to
Yeah,
them.
are like men being tortured. And it
Yeah.
really makes me want to watch Martyrs, which I know is kind of like the torture porn
Yes.
that has two female leads and to see how different that feels or doesn't feel.
Yeah.
But it watching these two back to back in particular, it really is like, wow, we don't see male bodies being treated this way in horror films
Mhm.
usually. And that
Mhm.
is fascinating. And
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
oh
so
my God, I want to
vulnerable.
follow this so much further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
there was such, like, softness, like, with the again, like,
mhm.
Eli said it too, and then obviously with, your 2 characters where it's just like, "Oh my god, are they
Mhm.
or aren't they?" Are
Yes.
they a kiss? But it's there's, like, this vulnerability that,
Mhm.
if you add these other elements of, like, women or different, like, are a little bit more
Yeah.
diverse with who is in that same position, it does feel so different, like, it just kind of
Mhm.
shifts, so,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be looking for it too now that I have those 5
Yes. Yeah,
those 5
right?
pieces, and then thinking about that, I love that.
So clearly, a tip for us to do more torture porn in the future because we've got to follow this
Truly.
thread down.
I'm
But
so happy.
yay! So that concludes this episode's film theory
Oh, I
rant
love
corner. Now we
that.
get into the film proper. That was a long rant corner, but I think for
That was
this we really
great.
needed it.
That was great
Um,
context.
So this is obviously directed by James Wan. This is his directorial debut. It's our second one on the podcast after Dead Silence, which was the film he made directly after this.
Mhm.
He also directs Insidious, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point, The Conjuring, Malignant. I'm sure probably all of those we're going to cover at some point. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But he's also really made a name for himself, of course, as a producer of horror. So in
Mhm.
addition to all of those films, he also produced Annabelle, which we covered. He produced The Nun, The Swamp Thing, Megan and Megan 2.0, and The
So good.
Monkey, as well as contributing as producer to a lot of the Saw franchise installments that follow this one. It is written by Lee Winnell. from a story by Winnell and Wan. And obviously, a lot of the titles, because they really work as a duo a lot, are the same. You know, Dead Silence, Insidious, Saw 2 and 3.
Mhm.
He also wrote and directed the 2020 Invisible Man and last year's Wolfman, as well as Upgrade
Oh.
and Insidious Chapter 3. So both these guys are just like horror fiends through and
Yeah.
through. They're both interested in doing other genres, but like they are horror directors who also are fans of the genre, and I think you
Yeah.
really see that in the films they make. Stars Lee Winnell as Adam, and since like we've got somebody playing two roles here, I brought in some of his acting credits as well for a little bit of context
Oh,
there.
cool. Yeah.
He actually plays Axel in The Matrix Reloaded 1 year before this film came out, which I had no
What?
idea about. So this was not like his screen debut. Um,
Funny.
He's also Specs in Insidious, Doug in Cooties, the cargo pilot in Aquaman, and the voice of Dan in The Wolfman.
Oh,
Um,
funny.
yeah, so it seems like he likes to write himself like a little cameo in projects that he writes as a screenwriter. Carrie Elwes is Dr. Gordon. Of course, he is Wesley in The Princess Bride, which Al has now seen.
Oh,
Um,
shit. Yeah.
Isn't that like
Damn.
for that? I'm
I don't
I'm
recognize a damn
so
person.
curious. Oh my god, that's so funny. I'm so curious what your experience of watching this as somebody who knows him from Saw versus mine as somebody who knows him from Princess Bride is. Because like I kept thinking like Wesley, what have they done to you?
Right, right,
Like,
right. I'm just like, "Oh, that's the person from Saw?"
mhm. It's such like
I
you
love
could
entry
not
points on
think of
characters or
more
actors.
drastically different roles. I also like just rewatched it with Dana on Valentine's Day, so like that was like very fresh in my mind too. And seeing him in this
Oh,
is just like
funny.
wow. He's also Robin Hood and Robin Hood Men in Tights. He's Lord Arthur Holmwood in Bram
Right.
Stoker's Dracula, so this is his second pod appearance.
Oh, shit.
Um, He's Dr. Jonas Miller in Twister, Jerry in Liar Liar, Nick Ruskin in Kiss the Girls, Edgar and Ella Enchanted, Mayor Larry in Stranger Things, Professor Gelson in the 2019 Black Christmas, and Michael Grable in the brand new film Dead Man's Wire, which I really want to see.
Ooh.
We have Danny Glover as Detective David Tapp. He's best known as Murtaugh in the Lethal Weapon movies. He's also Albert in The Color Purple, Lieutenant Mike in Predator 2, Captain Sam in Operation Dumbo Drop, Paul in Beloved. He's in The Predator 2. Oh, wait, no, I just said that. He's the voice of Jethro in Prince of Egypt. The voice of Barbados in Ants, which I loved.
I love
I
ants.
know, isn't that amazing? He's Henry in The Royal Tenenbaums, Marty in Dreamgirls, Teddy in The Old Man and the Gun, and Grandpa Alany in The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and Hank Thompson in The Dead Don't Die. So he's had like
Mm,
a really
mm.
incredible and
Wow.
varied career. He's done
Yeah.
so many
A little bit
different
of
kinds of
everything.
things. Yeah. We have Monica Potter as Allison Gordon, the wife. She's in Patch Adams. She's in the 2009 version of House on the Left. She's Jezzy in Along Came a Spider and Trisha in Con Air. We have Michael Emerson as Zep. He's also
I
multiple
love him.
characters in Lost, and every time this happens, I have to bring in the character name. So he's Ben Linus and Harry Gale,
Oh,
and
right.
multiple characters in Person of Interest. He's which I don't know. I haven't seen Person of Interest. Some of the names
Me
sound like they
either.
might be connected, but he's Harold Finch, Harold Wren, and Mr. Kingfisher.
Oh,
So I'm like,
funny.
are those the same character? Aren't they? I don't know, but I'm listing them.
Yeah.
And he's Leland on the series Evil. We have Ken Lung as Detective Singh. He's Barry in Welcome to the Dollhouse. Siatu Sama in AI Artificial Intelligence. Mhm. He's Lloyd in Red Dragon, the
Mhm.
Hannibal Lecter movie.
Oh, nice.
He's the art editor in Vanilla Sky. Miles Strom on Lost, so they worked together on that.
Oh,
And
funny.
I know, and Dr. Topher Zia on the Night Shift. And he's in the oh my gosh, M. Night Shyamalan movie Old. He's
I still
Jared.
have to see
I have to
that.
see it too. Yeah, I'm actually kind of
It looks
interested in
good.
the premise of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the guy from,
Um,
the kid from Hereditary too,
Oh
I think, and that
yeah, that's
yeah, it looks really
right.
good.
And we have Shawnee Smith as Amanda. She's Meg in the 88 version of The Blob, Laura on Arsenio, and Heather in the short version of Repo the Genetic Opera, which I didn't know there was a short
A
version.
short version of it?
Yeah, I have no
I don't know
idea,
what that
but
means.
Eh.
Love.
And she's Sullivan in The Grudge 3, so she has some other horror credits.
Oh, I know, I almost
Um,
wore my Morgan Crypt shirt
oh
with
my
her on
gosh,
it. It's in the other
love.
room, but you couldn't because of now that we, like, record in here, you couldn't like, it would just be her
You
little
couldn't see it?
eyeballs peeking.
No!
And I was like, "That's gonna be weird the whole episode," but I have my Morgan Crypt
That's
shirt
so
from
funny. Is it
the
her wearing the
uh-huh.
mask or
It
the trap?
is,
That's
it
so
is, the
good.
trap. Oh god, it's so I love her. It's so iconic.
Oh my gosh. And of course we have Tobin Bell as Jigsaw. He's a parole officer in Goodfellas, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, funny.
Um,
Random.
Agent Stokes in Mississippi Burning, the Nordic Man in The Firm, and Blackbird in Manson Family Vacation. He does seem to kind of
Mm,
generally play sort of sinister or intimidating characters, but of course this is the
it's
role
got
that
a
he's
look.
really known
Yeah.
for. He's got a look and
Yep.
a voice too. The
Yeah.
voice is definitely a giant part of it.
So good.
Um, Moving into writing, now, as you may or may not recall from previous Juan/1L
Wow,
episodes,
no.
1L, yeah, our little couple here, they did go to school together, and I like writing that down. I was like, I wonder if they bonded because their names were next to each other on
Right.
the roll call.
Hey,
Um,
listen. Probably.
And then I found the story of how they actually became friends, and it was so cute. I had to bring it in.
Oh.
So at the start of the program, all of the students, they had to submit shorts to get in, and so they
Mhm.
all screened the shorts that they'd submitted. And as Winnell recalls of Juan's project, he says, "quote It was a stop motion animation epic about two robots trying to destroy each other, and I swear to God, it was better than any anime I'd ever seen. I was just sitting there thinking, how the bloody hell did a high school kid make this? I
Oh
became
my
James's
gosh.
#1 fan right there and then, a title I've held ever since, although it seems like I'm going to have to share him with a lot of other fans pretty soon. He's my favorite director, and I was just lucky enough that when I said you need a writer, he foolishly agreed."
Oh my
Is
gosh,
that
that's so
not just the
they're just
cutest thing?
besties. That's a
They're
really, really sweet
besties.
quote. That's
Yeah.
really sweet. Oh, I love that.
Um,
That kinda sums everything up
I
then,
know, like,
the
it's
2 of
really
them.
like that's such sweet, pure energy
Just
there.
yeah, like, meant to
Um
be friends.
Mhm. And there's also like a cute little shout out to their friendship hidden inside the movie. So, when they're tracking the fire alarm, when the
Mhm.
detectives are tracking it to find Jigsaw's kind of lair, they track it down to a building on Stygian Street, and Stygian is the name of the first short they made together back in 1998.
What? Oh god, that just has to I love that friendship. That's
It's so cute.
like every I crave that
I
from
know.
like child can't go back
That's the
now in
goal.
time. So
That's
but
the
wow, that's
goal.
incredible.
Um
Cute.
A lot of places talk about this like they spent a really long time trying to get the film to happen. In the scale of filmmaking, they actually spent a like quite a short time. But
Yeah.
so what happens is they write the script in 2001
Okay.
and have it
Oh.
mid theatrical release 3 years later. So that's
Yeah.
like,
What the
yeah,
fuck?
that's
That's such
not
a short
bad.
amount of time.
It's such
They're
a
like,
short
but they're
amount of time.
normally longer.
Yeah, they're like, but I just got out of film school and there
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
make a short whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why they write it in '01 is also Winnell's first time writing a feature too, so he's like he's fresh to this. They're
Yeah.
both little babies.
Huh.
They're super inspired by the Blair Witch Project. That's like their bible.
Oh
Um
wow.
yeah, which like makes a lot of sense in terms of like the low budget filmmaking, which we're going to
Yeah.
talk more about that later. They're also really into Darren Aronofsky's Pi. Also, you can see a whole lot of Seven in this. There's like a lot of people who say
Yeah.
that it's too Seven, which like I still haven't seen Seven, so
Really?
I can't comment on
Oh.
that.
Oh gosh.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I can see it.
yeah, but they're both giant fans of Dario Argento, and there's actually a
Oh
quote.
my gosh.
I know. Juan said specifically, "quote We wanted to take all of this weirdness from people like Lynch and Argento, but actually have a storyline that you could follow." And I was like, okay, yeah, so it's
Hey.
yeah, very not what either of them would do.
Yeah. That's
But
so funny.
I do think you can really see this thinking back to the puppet in Deep Red. It looks so similar to Jigsaw.
Oh.
And I actually that was the one
Ooh.
photo that I meant to send you and didn't send you. But I will send it to you before we post this
Yeah.
on the internet so that our listeners can have a link to it. But
Yeah.
even like the way they're framed with the little like head cock to the side,
Ew,
there's definitely
yeah.
like
Nope,
an
yep.
Argento quote there. So they combine all of these references in an attempt to make the cheapest shooting script possible. So you
Sure.
get two characters, one setting, and the incorporation of surveillance cams from that. That's all basically just trying to figure out how to make it
Mhm.
filmable.
Mhm.
And so at this point, Juan is the one who pitches to Winnell many of the main ingredients, and he'd actually been pitching a whole lot of projects. He had kind of like three main ones, and I can't remember what one of them was, but one of them was Saw. One of them was
Mhm.
actually basically Paranormal Activity, because his idea, which
Really?
like somebody else goes on to make that, but the idea was like
Yeah.
a man is waking up with scratches on his body and doesn't know where they're coming from, and so he starts taping
Oh my
himself sleeping.
god. Wait, you
And
got
like they're
one
yeah.
Paranormal Activity?
I
Dang.
know. Yeah, it's amazing that they both had like the same idea at the same time,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
separately. But the Saw idea is the one that they latch on to. But so basically, what he brings to Winnell are kind of the beginning and the ending of the story. So he gives the bathroom, the seemingly dead body that turns out to be responsible, the mystery of how they got there, everything except the middle, basically.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Winnell's
Yeah.
reaction is actually super underwhelming. He's kind of like, "Oh, okay, that's something.
That's a thing.
That's a thing."
That's an idea.
Hangs up the phone, can't stop thinking about it, and then here's a quote from
Of
him. He
course.
says, "I started just going over it in my head, and without any sort of long period pondering, I opened my diary that I had at the time and I wrote the word saw." And that's how the title was born. And he basically calls
For
Juan
fuck's
back
sake.
and is like, "You know what? If
Mhm.
we can call it Saw, I'm in."
I'm on board. I feel like that's something that like me or you would say.
It's
It's like
yeah.
yeah, but can we call it
But
this?
can we call it
This sounds right.
Saw?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll start a
Funny.
horror podcast with you, but can we
Yeah.
call it Splice
Can
and
we go this?
Splatter?
Yeah. That's wild. Oh,
Isn't that
funny
cute?
that he
So it
wasn't
really
like fully on board, but he was like, I believe this, and if we can call it
yeah.
this, sure, let's figure it out
Mhm.
from there.
And also
Wild.
it really is like they're both like such key contributors from the beginning. Like
Mhm.
I love
Mhm.
that even though Winnell is the one who wrote the
Oh.
script, Juan is the one who came up with the main idea.
Yeah.
Um, what they don't have yet in all of that though is Jigsaw. And that component comes later when do you know the story of this? Of
I
why Winnell?
don't.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. So basically Winnell, he's working a job he hates, and we'll talk in a second about what that job
Oh
is.
gosh.
And he starts getting this is so perfect for you today, Al. He starts getting terrible stress related headaches.
Oh, well, fuck.
Um
Come on.
and can
Can I have a genius? Can I have a genius film after this?
So here's what happens. He starts getting these headaches, convinces
Mhm.
himself it's gotta be a brain tumor. And I'm like, don't
Well,
call me out
this
like this
also
one,
could still be
Al.
this.
This
Yeah.
is like so,
This
so
is me.
relatable. Being like, I'm stressed at my job. I must have a brain tumor. And so he starts booking himself MRIs, is
Oh
like
my gosh.
waiting for an MRI and thinking about this to see if he does in fact have a tumor. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. He's fine. Um,
Okay, good.
and he stumbles on the idea of Jigsaw as a character who's been given 1 to 2 years to live and decides to put victims in the same situation, but with minutes instead of years. As Winnell puts it, quote, when I finally did do something about it, about the headaches, and started feeling normal again, I was elated. I was so happy to be alive and healthy,
Mhm.
and this is what bled into Saw. Here's a film about someone who believes that a person can only appreciate their short life on Earth after they've looked death in the face. Jigsaw feels that if you are put through an extreme test of human endurance and you survive, you will have that same feeling of elation I had times 1,000. Which I'm like,
Sure.
for that to
Yeah,
be
that's
where
how
the
that works.
yeah, and like for that to be where the idea for Saw came from
That's
is just so
amazing.
like I would never have guessed that in a million
No.
years.
No.
And
That's also, like, because most of us that, like, complain about thinking we have, like,
mhm.
we have one simple thing and think like, the fact that he actually booked MRIs too and then had that whole
I know he like followed through.
yeah.
He committed to the bit.
He did.
And I actually think
Wild.
this is it like goes on to be seemingly an even more important thing in later installments in the series because I found an interview with Tobin Bell talking about how like across the whole franchise a theme is quote the mistreatment of the terminally ill by the medical community, which I'm like
Oh,
look at
wow.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That and it makes sense
Yeah.
that it would be like as he's waiting for an MRI that this idea comes to him.
That's crazy. Yeah, I
And
had no idea.
so, yeah, it's ugh. So because of all that, Their plan at the beginning is to like shoot it for 5K in a dream because they're so inspired by Blair Witch that they're like,
Yeah.
we have to do this entirely on our own. And so they
Yeah.
go to their agent, which like, how do they have an agent? I have questions about that, given that they are two kids who are just fresh out of film school, have not made like
It's their friend that was their agent, I'm sure.
honestly.
Honestly, they were like, "I just got to film school to be a film agent. I'm your agent now. You're my first clients."
That would explain a lot,
I
honestly.
feel like that's honestly probably what happened.
Yeah, but so their agent, whoever she is, they take it to their agent and they're like, "We have this great script and we're gonna shoot it for 5K." And their agent is like, "Why don't we try and like actually get you like real
Wow.
money for it
Wow.
instead of shooting it for 5K?" And at first they're really resistant to that because they're like, "We don't want to do somebody else's version of the film and have to like water
Yep.
it down."
Yep.
But they get eventually talked into it, and kind of an Australian producer comes along, options it for a year, doesn't raise the funding, the option runs out, and the boys are
Dang.
horrified at the idea of being sent back to square one. So their shared agent again is like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna book yourself a trip to LA and you're gonna shop it around and try to get an investor to bite there because nobody's interested in horror films in
Mhm.
Australia right now because, you know, your film hasn't come out yet and Wolf Creek hasn't
Sure.
come out yet. So there's
Right.
no audience for this right now. Nobody thinks that this is going to be profitable, but people in LA might. And so here's Juan's take on the story. He says, quote, "I've been out of work for 5 months, and the idea of flying all the way to LA to meet with an agent just sounded really stupid, like a potentially very expensive handshake. Lee and
Mm.
I have always said that we haven't made a lot of smart decisions in our lives, but this was one of the few." They're
Oh
so
my
cute.
gosh. That's just like how old were they? They were fresh out of school?
They were, at the time that they filmed the movie, they were both
Yeah.
27 years old.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're just like, "Oh my god." Good for I'm glad that they flew
I know.
because they're not wrong. Like, chances are that would have
Hmm.
been a really expensive handshake.
Yeah. Well, and it's now we get to why it wasn't just a really expensive handshake, which is the short film. Do you know about the short? Saw the short?
This might be on one of the DVDs at some point, I feel like.
Yes, it was
Okay, yeah,
was
the
a
when I
special feature.
okay,
Yeah.
I haven't owned Saw since, but
Ah.
when I first watched it from my friend, because again, that's how I first saw it. Theo.
Theo making her pod appearance of the
Theo check.
evening. Theo
I heard
check.
that
Do you have
meow.
anything to say? Do you have
How do you
anything
feel
to say
about
for
Saw?
yourself on the mic? No? Great.
She's like, "I'm good."
Yeah.
Yes, I totally forgot about the short. Refresh me because 'cause it's been since,
Mhm.
uh, like, 2007, so
So
many a year.
this is kind of Juan and Winnell thinking to themselves about like how do we stand out and not let this just be a
Mhm.
giant waste of money. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna shoot one scene. We're gonna shoot the reverse bear trap sequence. And we're gonna just shoot that as like a little pitch vid.
Wow.
And here's a quote, which I found this from a Bloody Disgusting article. The phrasing
Mm,
left it very unclear whether it was Juan or Winnell, but the story was
okay.
too good to pass up, so just know it's one of the two of them.
Yeah.
Quote, "We got our friends together and shot it, put it on DVD. The DVD arrived to the agent like the day before we got there. He was over the moon about it. I think that DVD really changed things for us. A script is just an annoying pile of white pages you have to read, but the DVD really caught their attention." Which, like, once again, the right distro method at the right time.
Yeah.
Without that, I
Makes or
genuinely think
breaks.
we would have gotten a very different Saw. Like, I think we would have
Yeah.
gotten the 5K version that's shot in their backyard.
Yeah.
And instead, what happens is a small company called Evolution Entertainment bites, despite how much harder it is to sell a film as a package deal than as just a script, which we're going to get to that in a second. But, you know, they really want this has to be directed by James Wan, and it
Mhm.
has to star Lee Winnell. This is the reason we wrote it. This is
Yep.
our vehicle. We're
Ugh.
not just gonna sell it as a story for somebody else. So as Winnell says, quote, "A lot of people around us said it was pretty much going to be an impossibility, especially for me to play one of the leads. They were saying the best we could hope for, and we should be really happy with this, was maybe an attachment, a minor cameo for me, and an attachment to the art department for
Wow.
James. Thank God we had naivety," which I'm like,
Y
love.
Truly, just,
Yeah.
like, kind of bulldozing through and be like, "No, this is ours."
And it actually all this happens
Mm.
so fast that the time from them arriving in LA to finishing principal production on the film is 6 months.
Oh my god, what the hell?
I know. They literally, like, get off a plane and get a deal. It's insane.
And
And
just stay. They're like, "And now we live
yeah.
here."
And now we live here, and now we're not
That's
Australian
rude.
anymore.
That's
Yeah.
what I was promised when I moved out there.
Saul lied to us all about
Rude.
the Hollywood dream.
Wow. Oh my
Uh,
god.
and to make that even more, like, jaw-dropping,
I don't wanna hear anymore.
even gotten they'd gotten higher offers from DreamWorks, but it was for just the script.
What?
Like,
DreamWorks?
DreamWorks would have paid them more money to just option the script without them attached. But as Winnell puts it,
Wow.
quote, I love this. If you go with DreamWorks, you get the DreamWorks version of the film. It's like,
Mhm.
this summer, Michael Bay presents Saw, starring Josh
Yes.
Hartnett and Michael Douglas. The trailer would have been car chases, and maybe the puppet would have been driving the car or something.
Oh my god, but he's not wrong. Like, can you imagine, like, the
That's
scenarios
exactly
that we
what
could
it would
put?
have been.
Oh my god. This
Oh my
summer,
God.
put the puzzle pieces together.
Jesus Christ. Literally.
That's yeah, 'cause oh
Ugh.
my god, they really saw potential in it then. Holy
Mhm.
shit.
Josh
Those little
Hartnett and Michael
fuckers.
Douglas. That's so funny.
What a time.
But wait, let's rewind. Let's talk
Okay.
about the short a little bit. So
Yes.
about that short, as I mentioned, they used the jaw trap scene, but they didn't have Shawnee Smith cast yet. So it's actually Lee Whannell playing the Shawnee Smith role. He's the one
Ooh,
in the
yeah.
mask. And I have to note actually that because I was doing all of the research for this as usual before watching the film, when I first encountered the phrase reverse bear trap, the image that came to my mind was like
Oh,
I was
no.
picturing
Horrifying.
actually kind of weirdly cute. I was picturing like a
Oh,
bear out in the woods digging a pit and then covering it up with like branches and then waiting behind a tree
Sienna.
for a hunter to like fall into the pit and
That
being like,
is
ha
so
ha!
cute. That is so cute.
A reverse bear
someone
trap.
please someone do a little cartoon drawing of that and send it to us because I really wanna see
I need
that.
that so badly. The
That's
reverse bear trap.
hilarious that that was where your brain went.
Yeah, so I just had to like share that image with you all. So, the short they shoot it on 16 mil instead of on
Cool.
like a handy cam, which is like
Yeah.
pretty impressive. And I think a big part of why it ends up working is it really
Mhm.
does look kind of like what they want the film to look like.
Yeah.
It apparently cost between I saw quotes between 3 to 7,000, and I think that's
Oh,
largely
wow.
because of the conversion rate. I think that's where some of the confusion's coming from. I think
Okay.
basically like it's somewhere around 5K.
Okay.
Um which, like, basically would have been nothing but film stock for that. Like, that's
Sure.
really, really cheap. And the money was actually Winnell's, which this is where we get to pull the pin out of, like, what was the horrible job that Winnell was working, that he didn't want to be
Yeah.
working.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
he was working with Nicole Kidman's sister, which I didn't even know she had a sister, but this is like
Right?
so Australian. Working with Nicole Kidman's sister on an interview TV series that he hated doing, where he was one of the interviewers, I believe.
Oh,
And they just borrowed all of the equipment from friends. So that's like the money
that
basically
is
comes from a job with Nicole Kidman's sister.
that is I have to look that up. That
It's
is
so wild.
weird. That's a
Yeah.
weird job.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have like a Theo hair in my mouth. This is the problem with her coming and guesting on the pod.
Yeah, those
Um,
tufts.
so a key to their creative approach, both in the short and eventually in the feature, was that they took it really, really seriously. Like they took the
Mm.
concept really seriously. They took
Ooh.
themselves really seriously.
Yeah,
Here's a
yeah.
quote from Winnell. He says, quote, if you look at the horror films of the 70s, the studio ones are the most extreme. You look at stuff like The Exorcist, and now it seems like they're doing a parody of what they used to. The great thing about The
Mm.
Exorcist is it's dead serious horror. No comedy, no self reference, it's a documentary style. And that seems to just be gone. And James and I wanted to take the dangerous step of taking this film seriously. And
Ah,
then Juan chimes in. They're doing this interview
yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
he says, it's definitely very risky to make films with a straight face, which I'm like,
Wow.
ooh,
Yeah,
love.
and that's, like, such a I think a contrast with the 2 of
Mm-hmm.
ours too, is, like,
Very much.
those
Yours,
punchlines that mine has, like,
mm-hmm,
at every turn,
totally.
there's, like, this relief in a bad joke or a bad punchline, and, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's so true. Yours is You
It's
can
like
tell.
dead serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though there
Interesting.
there are some like comedic lines in it, like it takes itself seriously,
Mhm,
which is
mhm.
also a giant pushback against things like Scream and Scary Movie,
Yeah,
which is kind
yeah.
of the wave that they're coming out of at this point.
Mhm.
So, now we move into production. I love this.
Oh,
This film
yeah.
was shot in 18 days of principal photography, plus
Oh,
some later
shit!
reshoots, so it had
Oh,
the
wow.
exact same
Yeah.
schedule that I
Yeah,
had,
yeah, yeah.
which I adore.
It's very,
Um,
like, affirming, I'm sure,
it
to
real
hear, like, a lot of films actually
yeah,
recently we've covered. Like,
yeah, have
since
been, like,
you shot
right
yours,
around yeah, that same
we've talked
length.
about it.
And there were even, like, some of those reshoots had Winnell standing in for Ken Lung in a few shots, so, like, it was, like, the
Oh.
cheapest of cheap reshoots.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there's even, like, one shot that's, supposed to be, Shawnee Smith as Amanda, it's supposed to be her hands, and it's also Winnell's hands, or it might be James Wan's hands, and they just, like,
Sure.
painted their nails for it, which is so cute.
Funny.
Um, but, do you know or do you wanna take a guess what the budget of this was?
Isn't it something like it's under 1,000,000, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
isn't it like 500K?
So the production budget for actual principal photography was
Mhm.
right around 700, which
Wow.
then
That's
once
crazy.
once Lionsgate picks it up for distribution, that goes up to between 1 to 1.2 mil. So a lot of that
Sure.
goes into I know they did a remix of the sound, they did like an upgrade to some of the color grading, and also
Cool.
probably there's some uh distro costs built into that
Yeah,
too.
I'm imagining, yeah.
But for the
Wild.
shooting itself, 700K, which I'm like, yes, this is actually indie.
Yep, yep.
Down to how the production company financed it, which like I love this.
Ooh.
They put a second mortgage on the production headquarters to get the cash to be the only owners
What?
instead of having to bring in a co-financier.
Oh my
Which I'm like,
gosh, that's wild. We haven't
they
talked about I haven't heard of that
yeah,
before
that's like when you
happening.
hear about that happening, it's like the filmmaker
Wild.
themselves doing that, not the
Yeah,
production company.
yeah.
That's
Oh my
wild.
gosh, that's
Um,
God, really people saw like I feel like people were trying to be sneaky about how much potential like they saw
mhm.
in this that they wanted to like hold it for
Keep it all
themselves
to
or they were like, "We'll be
themselves.
fine."
Yeah. Yeah. Like the fact that they were willing to take that risk on
Wow,
like an unknown director and an
right?
unknown lead is
And a
just
horror movie like this, like
mhm.
horror.
And in a
Hello.
kind of horror movie that we hadn't really seen before, too. Like that
Insane.
is
Insane of
they
them to do.
really they knew what they were doing. They were
Yep.
really smart.
Yep.
And most of the shoot took place in an old textile factory that had been converted into
Ooh,
shooting space. And that's where the bathroom set was built. But the bathroom set is the only built set in this movie. Everything else was shot
really?
on location in and around that converted factory. Which, like,
That's
I
sick.
love that. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of why it does feel so like grimy and lived in
Mhm.
is it's
Mhm.
like actually an abandoned building.
Yeah.
Oop, as I bumped my mic, sorry y'all. Um so the just like a weird little note on timing here that just like stood out to me for reasons. So this starts shooting at the end of September 2003, shoots for 18 days, but somehow still gets into and premieres at Sundance 2004 in January, which I'm
Sure,
like
but
that is not possible because like they wouldn't have even finished filming. Like they did not submit like a complete cut. The version that showed
sure.
at Sundance was not the version that goes like to theaters. There were
Right,
some
right.
small changes, but it was, unedited film. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like raw assembly footage. And for them to have stopped to start shooting at the end of September, shoot for 18 days, they'd be finished filming somewhere in like mid-October,
Mhm, mhm.
and usually the cutoff final deadline for Sundance is in mid-September. And so I'm
Oh.
like,
Oh, interesting.
they wouldn't have even had time at that point to assemble even the roughest assembly cut
Hmm,
before the deadline. So I'm like, either
interesting.
Sundance had a really weird submission schedule that year, or
Yeah.
there was like some backdoor dealing going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which,
And
like,
well, I don't know, with the way people were believing in this, who knows? Maybe they sent the script
exactly.
and, like, someone vouched for it? I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
I think somebody knew somebody because
Yeah,
that's not
interesting.
how that
Hmm,
timeline
works.
usually works in the real
Yeah,
world. So just like an interesting note.
yeah.
Um So, of course, part of the contract that Lee's gonna play Adam, so he doesn't exactly have to audition. Um, but I've now got a section labeled One Elwes because Carrie Elwes, obviously, very different
Yeah.
matter. Um, Obviously, it's less of a matter of Elwes having to prove himself to the director than the director proving himself to Elwes, since that's the unknown quantity.
Mm.
But Carrie got sent the DVD with the short alongside the script, and that's what hooked him. He could immediately
Ooh.
tell that there was this visual style behind the project, and obviously the script was strong. He
Mhm,
read it
mhm.
in one sitting, which he usually doesn't do, and so that like really grabbed him. But it was the DVD that convinced him. He was like,
Wow.
"Oh, this director has a real
Mhm.
vision. I can see what this film is going to look
Absolutely.
like. I believe in it." But of course, the chemistry also has to be just right for Saw to
Mhm.
work as well. As Lee puts it, quote, "The way Saw is written, the whole thing rests on the dynamic between two men chained up in a bathroom. The film is about their relationship and how it develops. If the two actors didn't have any chemistry, the whole film was dead in the water. Luckily, from the first second I met Carrie, I knew that we would get on like a house on fire. He laughed at one of my stupid jokes, and that scored him big points."
Oh my god, I love it.
Which now we get into the section of just like adorable stories of the two of them on set that I'm
Mm,
just like, ugh,
mm.
their relationship is so
Oh, I
cute.
love that.
Um, because it sounds like Lee majorly looked up to Carrie Elwes when he came onto set, and he says, which it's so cute. Like,
That's
yeah,
really sweet.
this guy has had a multiple decades spanning career doing really big projects. So he says, quote, "I can't imagine what I would have done if a less generous actor had been cast as Dr. Gordon." Um, there were the stories. I think James and I went a little bit overboard with the questions we were constantly asking him. What was it like working on Dracula with Francis Ford Coppola? Tell us about Don Simpson on Days of Thunder. He was
Ugh,
always gracious, and he told us these great stories, which I'll have to keep secret. So they're keeping little secrets with each other.
that's so
Um,
cute.
and here's a story that I really loved on like an indie filmmaking level from Winnell, because it just like I related to this a whole lot. He says, "quote, physically, the shoot was pretty demanding to keep up that level of emotion for an entire day. I actually learned to carry a Discman around with me, and I would play certain songs to put me in a certain mood. But I always
Mm.
found that straight after we wrapped each night, it all just disappeared, and I would feel just so happy. I just couldn't believe that James and I had achieved our
Oh my
dream, that we'd
god.
just spent the day working on our film. It made me want to cry sometimes. I mean, here's a script you spent 2 years of your life pushing for, hoping and praying that you can get it made. And there we were finally doing it. It still puts a lump in my
Ugh,
throat. James was so busy and trying so hard to achieve his vision that I don't think he really had time to reflect on that. So I think I did the reflecting for both of us, which I'm like,
stop. That's really sweet. Oh, I love that he like
I
had that moment with himself
know.
too. To I hope he brought that
Yeah.
up with James at the time too, to be like, hey, take like let's have lunch and like take a minute to
Hmm.
reflect on this amazing thing that we're like,
I
what
know.
a whirlwind for the two of them
Right?
too
Like, this all
to
happened
go into together.
so fast, and it's also
Yeah.
that the part I really related to about it was the sense of James Wan being like, "I don't have the time to feel
Yeah, yeah,
anything about
yeah.
it," 'cause, like,
I'll reflect
that's
later.
that's how I was on my set, like, I had, like
Sure.
there was one night that I was able to sit down and drink a beer with the actors after the shoot, and, like, I was asking them how they were having like, how they were experiencing it, and they were like, "We're
Mhm,
really here, it's all happening,"
mhm.
and I was like, "Is it?" Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
to
had a
be
chance to breathe, like
yeah, you're like, "This is the first time I've sat in days."
yeah, literally.
It's a conscious effort to be present in moments and reflect in moments. It's something
Mhm.
that, like, I have to work really hard to do
Yeah,
because you
me
do get,
too.
like it's like, what is it? Like, every, oh my god, I don't remember the quote, but something about, like, the oh, it's from The Office. It's like, isn't it like oh wait, what is it where it's like you don't know you're in the good old days until like later or something?
Mhm,
Like these are the good
mhm,
old days. I
mhm.
forget. I think it's The Office. I don't know.
Something
Travis
like
gonna
that, yeah.
ping in with it. But it's like true, like to be in those moments. So I'm so it's
Mhm.
The Office. Okay, cool. But like yeah, like you're in the good old days. You're in these memories that you
Yeah.
once are gonna talk about. And like
Mhm.
especially being your first film with like not only you're like a good friend, but your
Your
creative
best friend, your
partner too.
partner, yeah.
Oh my
It's
gosh, that's
so
really sweet.
cute.
I love that you found
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That
I
warms
had
me.
to bring that in, especially just, like, again, like, as a director, like, you've got so many different things on your mind that
Oh,
it's like the
yeah.
last thing I have emotional space for is like myself and like my
Yeah,
own
yeah.
experience of this. And
'Cause
so
you gotta
like
do the next day is gonna be
yeah.
there, and you have
Well,
to
that was
be
why I was like never hanging out with anybody. Was like I
Mhm.
had to get ready for the next
Yep,
day, and it's
yep.
like yeah. So it's seeing
That's
that I
sweet.
was just like, "Whew."
Yeah.
Well, especially because like I also made my film with like a dear friend from
Mhm.
like childhood, and like we kind of had one of those conversations where he was like, "I'm so glad we're finally getting to do this," and I was like,
Yeah.
like, so I just like really
I'm not human.
yeah.
That's cute.
um.
You
So
felt
anyway,
that deep in your soul.
it really did. But so by the time shooting is done though, they've developed like such a series of in-jokes between really the three of them.
Yeah, I'm
That
sure.
like they've like developed this like specific joke that they keep referring to of like Carrie being like a stuck-up pompous Brit. And so there's this
Really?
great interview exchange where Winnell like is like playing into this and is joking and
Mhm.
says, "Did I really need to be there with him in the bathroom every time? I'm not talking about on set. He would go to the bathroom and I would have to hold him and shake him out." And Carrie responds, "As every young actor in Hollywood should."
Oh, boy.
Uh,
Too true, and
yeah, I'm
also,
like,
I love that they were just,
they
like,
had
just a bunch of bros.
so much fun, yeah. And a few
That's
last
cute.
little Elwes tids, this time on his work in particular rather than his
Mhm.
relationship with Juan and Winnell. He actually went and interviewed a UCLA neurosurgeon for character research to kind of
Oh,
get a
wow.
sense of what that life is like. And he, in particular, hated the scenes where his character was chained up. Not just because obviously it was actually painful, same as with your film, but also because
Wow.
he realized partway through the experience that he's claustrophobic and that being chained up triggered that, and he did
Oh,
not know that
god.
about himself before being chained up in that bathroom.
As one wouldn't.
As one would hope, yeah. Shawnee Smith also originally did not want the role at all, and they had to beg her to take it because
Wow.
she found it too gruesome and she didn't like horror movies. But
I
she was
mean,
also yeah, I mean, it's pretty
her
gruesome,
scene's the
especially her
most
character.
iconic ever,
Yeah.
though.
I know. And
I have
she's
a shirt with her on it.
great. She is so good.
Amazing, yeah.
But she also was won over by the short film, which she also had the same reps as Danny Glover, so that helped.
Oh, wow.
Um
Wow.
Danny Glover though, meanwhile,
Yeah,
this is
can we
so weird.
take a moment for him?
Danny Glover was cast because James Wan saw him in a Pilates infomercial.
Did he not know who Danny Glover was before?
I don't know, but the thing that
He's
he
Danny
cast him
motherfucking
off
Glover.
of was a Pilates
Wow.
infomercial that Danny Glover did for a friend that I guess aired on Australian TV at some point.
Oh, that's actually I forget Australia, maybe they didn't have
Mhm.
a lot of access to, like you yeah.
But I mean, I
Okay,
would think
that
that
makes
they
sense.
still had Lethal Weapon,
But
like,
yeah.
what the fuck?
Listen, if that's his
Australians,
only
write in. Do you have Lethal Weapon?
do you know who Danny Glover is? If that's James Wan's only fault,
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I'll allow it.
That's really what a choice of
What a
reference, and
gem. Yeah,
I would die with that information. I
I
would be like, "No
know.
one gets to know that." I'm gonna be like, "That's a lie."
Mhm.
I did not say that.
I know. Also, sorry y'all if you're hearing I have a stuffy nose. I had a cold and then I also have juniper allergies because New Mexico juniper season is
Oh, it's around the
the
corner.
worst and it's yeah, it's extra warm right now and so it started early. So sorry if I sound stuffy, but
You sound good to me.
fantastic. Um love that. That'll be one of us.
No one else
But
gonna say anything.
okay, so moving on into kind of the actual on-set experience, I did bring in a few quotes about the directing
Mm,
experience from James Wan, who said,
yeah.
such great quotes about this, particularly around how tight the production schedule was, which, like, again, big relate. We had the exact same schedule. But here's a quote from Carrie Elwes, actually, where he says, quote, there were days when James was heartbroken because of the time commitment and not being able to get the shots just the way he wanted to. I'd go over and console him. I'd go, dude, even in your eyes, what you consider to be sucky is still good, if not great, compared to most of the other crap that's out there. I had to remind him because I knew from watching the short that these two had a wonderful vision. He's got so many images in his mind that he wants to put on the screen. It's heartbreaking, I'm sure. But according to Elwes, Juan's also really a very very actor-oriented and editing-oriented director, and says, quote,
Mm.
he definitely encourages actors to try different things that he can play with stuff in the editing room, which I think is very smart of any director to give yourself choices. And he also encourages us to improvise, which I
Oh,
always love
love that.
hearing that.
Me too.
Um, the tight schedule was hard for Elwes, though, as well. According to him, he often had a dozen or more pages of dialogue a day to memorize, which I'm like, that math doesn't quite math
Yeah, that
out.
math isn't math.
Like, I'm sure you're exaggerating, but also like, buddy, like most screenplays, like this is probably under 120 pages,
Yeah.
and you're not the only dialogue in the movie, and it's shot for
Yeah.
18 days. So
Yeah.
like, hold on to your
No.
horses for a second. Um, but he also says that everyone was so on the go the entire time that there weren't any chairs on set, which also actually was true of my set. We did
Oh
not have
gosh. Yeah.
chairs.
We had
So
picnic tables in some of those, but
we
yeah,
did have
there weren't
picnic
like where you're
tables,
gonna
yeah.
sit. You just had
There
to
weren't
find
like there wasn't like a director chair,
actor.
an
Yeah, yeah,
actor
yeah, or actor
chair, like
chairs. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. That's
So
really
I'm just like
funny.
check, check, check. The cinematography obviously almost all handheld, which is a huge marathon on the part of cinematographer David
Yeah.
A. Armstrong. This is
Hmm.
very early in David's career. He'd done mostly shorts and like a tiny little bit of TV,
Okay.
but he goes on to shoot Skinwalkers, The Lodger, Dead Awake, and Saw sequels 2 through 6.
Oh
So
wow.
lots of kind of horror leaning
Wow.
projects.
Amazing.
And you can see pretty clearly Armstrong mimics the character's mental states with the camera work. So, like, when you're kind of focusing on Dr. Gordon, the shots are steadier. When you're
Mhm.
looking at Adam, the shots are more kind of shaky
Oh
cam
yeah.
action.
And like closer. You're like up in his
Mm-hmm.
like face in a different way. Yeah.
Which I also think is interesting because you're usually seeing Dr. Gordon's full body, and obviously that
Mhm.
body does not end up intact at the end of the film. And so I think there's like a little bit of foreshadowing going on there too. It's
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Which yeah, love, particularly because it's like the only time we really start seeing Dr. Gordon in close up is at the end when he's like bleeding out and you're seeing like his face getting all
Yeah.
white, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. Ugh.
now
Yeah, he
now
looks so
that his
creepy.
body has been cut up, the
It's
frame
cut
is
off by the
also
camera.
cutting him
Oh,
up. Yeah.
shut up. I didn't
Mwah.
realize that.
Love.
That's great. That's great.
The music is composed by Charlie Clouser, who also, I did not know this, but I was so excited to see this. He's the one who wrote the theme song for American Horror Story.
Do do
Yeah.
do do.
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
fuck
So
hats
iconic.
off. God damn.
Like the second you say that,
Snaps
you
for him.
hear it, right? Like, and that's true
Yeah.
of so
Shut up.
comparatively few themes. He also did Wayward Pines, Numbers, Resident Evil Extinction, and Dead Silence. And
Oh, nice.
apparently, it only took him 6 weeks from start to finish to complete this score, which is also
Wow.
amazing
Wow.
because this film, kind of like yours, one of the reasons I was delighted to see both of these at this moment is because they're almost through composed. Like there
Mhm.
is
Oh, yeah.
something musical going on in like the very far background of the audio
Mhm.
at almost every
Mhm.
moment, even if
Yep.
it's just like a slow, long,
Yeah.
extended note being
Yeah.
held. Like, and I think it's partially because there's like comparatively little dialogue in the film. And so there's a lot of like sonic
Yep.
space, but like my movie's the same way. There's
Love
like
that.
sound underneath or like some kind of like sonic content under like 80% of the movie. And I'd been watching so many dramas recently that I've been starting to get
Mhm.
self-conscious about it because I was like, this has like so little music. Do I have
Yeah,
too much
yeah.
music? And then I watched this and I was like, bitch,
No,
it's
I'm good.
genre. Like,
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
thank you for bringing me back home, Saw. Really appreciate it,
Truly.
composer Charlie
Yeah.
Clouser.
I love that
Um,
they both had those for sure.
Right? This also has like some amazing needle drops. There's Fear Factory, there's Frontline
Mhm.
Assembly. There was also going to be a Megadeth song that like
Oh,
mysteriously
interesting.
got cut at the last minute. But
Funny.
as you can tell from the end result, Wan's direction to Klauser was basically just not to hold back because this was going to be an opportunity to really like go weird with no supervision.
Yeah. Ugh,
Um,
that's amazing.
and I actually found a really great interview with Juan looking back on this from later in his career, where he starts talking about the idea of having music play before the big scare and then cutting sound out rather than having a
Mm,
sting every time something scary happens, having it be the silence that's scary. And I was like, that's such a big
that's
part of what
good.
works so well to me about this film is
Wow.
that it's, yeah, the worst moments happen in silence. And part of what makes that so impactful is that there is this like very subtle sonic content in the
Mhm.
background of so much of the rest of it.
That's so
Um,
cool. So
this
smart.
I know. I was delighted to find a little bit more kind of like music specific stuff in this one because it is a really striking soundtrack too. There's like
Yeah,
all this
the
like
fact
weird metallic stuff.
it's I know the 2 of these actually, the sound design and, like, the scores is something, like, I took note
Mhm.
of that I was like, "Holy shit." I mean, even for Hustle to have a 23 track
I know.
score,
Like
like,
43
hello.
minutes. Yes, we
Yeah,
love.
yeah, so I love that Saw took that opportunity too, because I think that's what makes
Mhm.
them hold up and stand out
Absolutely.
as
And
much as they do.
I'm also wondering is like is this a hallmark of the genre too? Is this something that we'll go
Right?
on to see in other torture porn
I don't
films? It's like this really
know,
present score.
we
Got to
might.
find out.
Yeah, I'm very
Mhm.
intrigued.
I also want to take a quick second to talk about the editing, which I don't often get the chance to
Yes,
because there's
please.
like a lot of the time, you don't get many interviews with editors.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
don't necessarily see directors talking as much about the editing, but I did find it for this and I'm really excited about it
Good,
because
because I love the editing in this so much.
and it is entirely out of practical necessity because
Perfect, we love to hear it.
as Juan says, quote, I didn't have enough shots to work with. I didn't have enough takes.
Oh,
We
bless
were
him.
we were basically shooting rehearsals. So I had a lot of gaps in the final product where
God.
we were basically trying to cut it with Kevin Greutert, who ended up directing the last two Saw films. We ended up basically
Oh.
cooking up a lot of things to in post to put the film together. We would grunge the shot up to make it look like surveillance cameras. So that is a
Oh,
post-production
wow.
artifact to try and basically
Yep,
kind of
that
like
makes
reuse
sense,
some
actually.
stuff.
Okay. Okay.
And then we would like use stills that the still photographer had shot to basically fill in gaps whenever we cut to newspaper clippings or stuff like that, or when we cut to surveillance cameras, or we cut to
Yeah.
still photography within the film. Now people say, wow, that's such a cool experimental style of filmmaking. We
Oh,
really
for
did that
fuck's
out of
sake.
necessity to fill gaps.
Damn. Well, fucking hell. It works because it feels
Hmm.
like very I'm surprised like uh, a lot of the people we talk about like the cinematographers or the editors are like come from the
Hmm.
music video world and like even
It
those like
feels
very
very
like
music video.
yeah, and like those very Jacob's Ladder like fast movements
Hmm.
even are like
Totally.
I think it's the best use of those or not like use but
Hmm.
visually look the best in any movie we've covered with cuts like that too.
It really like it
They're perfect.
for being a last ditch effort to stitch a film
Yeah.
together, my god, do they sell it.
Yeah, and just, like, the thing
Um,
as a whole, it, like, became its own like, I feel like that kind of
mhm.
editing became, like,
Got
such a
picked up as a style, and I feel like it's, like, become cliché now, but I do think Saw
yeah,
was, like,
yeah.
one of the first to do it in this particular way,
Yeah, that I
to this
feel so,
extent,
yeah.
yeah. I know.
Fumbled right into success.
Yeah, it's they really they failed up.
Yeah.
Um, but this was also it was editor Kevin Greutert's first feature, but he goes on to cut Hal's least favorite movie, The Strangers.
Ugh.
um, Plus, he also cuts Saw 2 through 5 and 10 and
Oh.
directs Saw 6, 7, and 10. So
Oh,
lots
shit.
of
Oh,
involvement in the
editor
series.
to
Hmm.
nice.
Which also Saw 10 is the best reviewed Saw in the whole series.
When did that one come out? I
That's the
forget.
most recent one. It was from
The
like
most recent one?
2021. Yeah.
Okay. Because
So,
I knew, like, a friend of a friend was in one of the earlier ones, I remember,
oh,
and then but, like,
interesting.
I was like, "I'll watch it." I've
Mhm.
not watched past, I don't think 5 at this point, or
I've
6
yeah.
maybe?
I get the sense
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the ones in the middle are not great, but apparently the last one is supposed to be like quite good.
Interesting.
So I'm curious about that.
Ooh.
Okay, rounding the quarter, I'm going to try and speed through the end. We've gotten up to the release. So as I said,
Yeah.
debuts at Sundance, audience reaction is strong, but it almost like I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but the thing is Lionsgate had already picked it up preemptively a couple days before Sundance for distro. Thing is,
Oh.
though, they're planning to just do a straight to video release. Um,
Oh,
and
damn.
one of the reasons why is that that Sundance cut was rated NC-17. They end up deciding to give it a theatrical release, and when that happens, it has to get recut down to an R rating. And most of the cuts were just shortening shots by like sometimes even a matter of seconds to even just frames to just sort of
Yeah.
hone down and like
Yep.
wean down
Yeah.
the graphic content a little bit. So it's not like you're missing giant chunks, but it is
Right.
There is some difference. Um, but again, just like thinking about yours not even having to at all, it's so just
Not a
like
damn
this, it
thing.
doesn't, this means
Which
nothing.
I'm gonna interject. Trav has a
Mm-hmm.
theory because Devil's Rejects
Ooh,
came out at the same time, and I don't know if anyone can confirm or deny, or if we can look it up, that they were so sick of having to deal with like Rob Zombie and like
that's so
rating that
funny.
that it basically seems like he might have just it was the right year.
That makes perfect
So
sense. I
it makes
100%
sense.
buy this.
So I
Yeah.
think unfortunately if Saw would have come out the same year, I think they maybe
Mm-hmm.
would have been a little kinder
Yeah,
on yeah.
indeed.
So putting that out there, but yeah. Oh man.
So, finally gets its mainstream theatrical release on October 29th across 2,315 screens. So, real
Wow.
mainstream. And it's
Yeah, that's
immediately,
close to mine.
oh, wow, look at
Yeah, it was
that.
like 2,700, I think.
And it is immediately divisive, but we're going to get to that in a second. First, do you want to take a guess how much money this made?
Well, oh my god, I forgot what number you said earlier. Mine
Oh,
was
good.
82. Yours
Hmm.
did better, you said,
It did
right?
better.
Then
Yeah.
that's oh my god, that makes me like gagged because of how much it costs to make in comparison.
Hmm.
Well, you said like 120-ish, right? Is that a number that you threw out?
I did.
Was that a number?
That was a
Did it
number that
make
I threw
that?
out. It didn't, but it made in between it. This earned $104 million worldwide, which
I
is,
can't even imagine seeing those box office numbers.
yeah, for a film made for under 1 million to
Oh
earn
my,
back
I would have
more than 100, like,
I would have been
oh
passing out.
my
I would have been
God.
passing out.
Like, usually taking on a second mortgage is a bad idea. That might have been the best second
The
mortgage anybody
smartest
ever
thing.
did. Yeah.
My god,
um,
can you
yeah.
uh,
And it was against, like, stiff competition too, because that opening Halloween weekend, it was actually only 3rd at
yeah.
the box office. It was behind Ray, About Ray Charles, and The
Oh.
Grudge. The Grudge came out
Oh.
the same time as this.
Wow.
So, like,
I saw The Grudge
goddamn.
in theaters.
Oh my god,
I
I love that!
so that makes sense actually now, that why I didn't see Saw.
But, like, in terms of the amount that it made compared to its budget, this, like, blows everything else out of the water.
Oh, truly.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it also gets a boost from what goes on to be an ongoing publicity stunt for future franchise installments where they partner with the Red Cross for a Saw quote unquote give till it hurts blood drive, which I know.
OMG.
They start doing this like yearly for the releases. And in that first year they collected 4,200 pints of blood.
Oh, ew.
Yeah. I know. I'm like,
I
honestly,
blood
slay.
drawn. Oh, good for that's really cool of them. We need to
Right?
do more of that.
I love that as like a way to like do some
Yeah,
good with your marketing campaign for a horror
absolutely.
film. That's kind of
Yeah,
genius.
it's amazing.
Um it does go on to get a 10-year re-release in 2014 and a 20-year unrated re-release 2 years ago.
Ooh,
And that does release the version that got an NC-17. So you can see those missing
cool.
seconds on that one.
Cool.
Uh-huh. And it did also get an Ultra HD Blu-ray in 2021 with like almost an hour of making of material. So if you're a
Mhm.
giant Saw fan, that would probably be the one to check
Very
out.
cool.
Reception. Wanell was super nervous about how critics were going to react and says, quote, "We were just two goofy kids from halfway around the world. Lionsgate
Yeah.
is treating it like Lord of the fucking Rings, which is great, but maybe we should have handed out cards at press screenings saying the people who made this are not intelligent. Cut it some slack."
Oh my god.
Um, and
No.
he wasn't wrong to be nervous because there's a wild disagreement between critics and audiences on this film. Do you know about this? Do you know like around where Saw sits with critics? This film is
Mm-mm.
worse rated than yours by critics.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
This has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, but
Oh,
an
yikes.
84 from
Oh,
audiences.
see, there you go.
Mhm.
That feels right. Fuck the
Yeah.
critics, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Which is like looking back on this, I'm like, this is a masterpiece. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it
that's
like
insane.
it is like ingrained in everything that came after
Yeah,
it, and
it
it's
is
so ingrained in pop culture. It's like it's
anything that has such a cultural influence as Saw did is like clearly
mm,
tapping into something
which
that
is why the audience score is higher. So it totally makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah.
So Why is it so divisive? Some critics loved how twisty it was. Some critics
Mhm.
hated how twisty it was and felt like it was too convoluted.
Sure.
Ebert gave it 2 out of 4, but ended up praising the acting, while then other critics on
Interesting.
the other side trashed the acting, and in particular Elwes, saying that he was overacting, and also saying that both of them have bad American accents, which I'm like, they slip up a couple of times, but it's not like distracting to me. Like,
Yeah,
it's like, it's
we've
fine.
heard way
We've
worse,
heard
but I do
so much
agree
worse.
on, Elvis a little bit, though. I
On
feel
the
like,
overacting or on the accent?
overacting.
I do think okay, so one of the things about this film is that it's shot mostly in sequence, and I think he gets significantly better over the course of filming.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
the
yeah.
first half is pretty cringy, and then the second
Yeah,
half, by
pretty
the time he's
stiff.
sawing off his own foot,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I believe this."
Yeah,
Like
true. That's so funny. Oh, I didn't know they shot it in sequence. That makes sense.
So I
Yeah,
think he
agreed,
really he
agreed.
came to the character over time. But,
Yeah.
like, by the time he's, like, at the very end and is, like, bleeding out, I was completely sold on the
Mhm,
performance by
mhm,
that
mhm.
point. Um, but I also think, like, a lot of critics just, like, it seems to me, weren't quite sure how to approach it. Like, some were treating it like
Hmm,
it's a procedural thriller, some were treating it like a
hmm,
Silence of the Lambs style kinda journey into the mind of a madman, some were treating
interesting.
it as a low budget slasher, and there's, like, some truth in any of those, but I think as often is the case when something is the very first of a new thing, it got torn apart for the very things that make it what it is. And in
Yeah.
particular, I think the sense that the cruelty is the point rather than character. As Ebert describes his frustration with this trope, he said, quote, "A movie that conceals the identity of a killer is of a lower order in general than one that actually deals with him as a character. To get to know someone is infinitely more pleasing than to meet some guy behind a hockey mask or in a puppet suit or whatever." Which I'm like, first of
I don't
all, I don't ag
that's
I don't agree with that on the
and we get that
basic
later anyways. It
yeah,
turns into a franchise, so
I'm also like, first of all of those, like, hockey mask films are shot in a large part from the perspective of the killer, so, like, it kind of falls apart a little bit
Yeah.
when you think about that, but also
Yeah, no
secondly,
way.
compared to something like Halloween, we get so much more understanding of who Jigsaw is from this film.
Wildly so. You don't know anything about, like, Michael
Yeah.
Myers or even really Jason Voorhees for that matter
Yeah, it's
in
it's a it's a weird take, as
yeah,
Ebert is
weird
great
take.
at. Yeah, a classic
Yeah.
Ebert weird take.
Yeah.
Obviously, retrospective opinions have been a lot kinder over time. It's been cited in places like Bloody Disgusting's 2009 ranking as being among the top horror films of the
Mm.
2000s. I think
Yeah.
they actually called it the most influential film of the 2000s in
Sure.
that
Yeah.
list. And I think the ranking today would probably see Saw even higher on that list. Because
Yeah.
in
I
that
mean,
'09 ranking, I mean, yeah, you have
you
to.
have to put it up there.
Though it was number 10 on that ranking, and the one at number 1
Mm.
was Let the Right One In, which, like, I don't think anybody talks
What?
about anymore. Yeah. Mhm.
That
Exactly.
listen, great movie. Would not put it as influential. Please get out
Exactly.
of there.
Yeah.
Move it over. Sorry,
Agreed.
buddies.
Um, One unexpected little bit of negative reaction, though, is from Cary Elwes himself, who actually, not to the film, but to the producers, he
Ooh.
sues the producers, alleging that he only received 50K despite being promised back end points.
Oh.
The suit seems to have settled out of court. Well, it did settle out of court. It seems to have settled out of court to Elwes's satisfaction because he
Yeah,
did
I
come
hope
back for
so.
Saw 7. So, like, he returns to the franchise at some point. I'm curious how much money
They
it
got
took to make that happen.
greedy. Well, yeah, if they settled out of
Yeah,
court, he got exactly what he wanted. Because otherwise
exactly.
he would have gone to court. So yeah,
I
he
mean,
walked off with what he wanted. Good for
yeah.
him. They
Um,
made money. They had
uh,
it.
well, yeah, and particularly like if you're Carrie Elwes of The Princess Bride and you see this movie make 104 million and you're like, I earned 50K, yeah,
Yeah.
fuck that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Um,
Good for him.
so real quick influence, almost done. 3 important things to know about the Saw franchise, which is now 10 films long. One is that the creators did not actually write the ending of the first Saw as a door to sequels. They really wanted it to be like
Like,
they
yeah.
saw that like closing the door as like, yeah, and the story's over now, which is like so funny in
And
retrospect.
then yeah.
They thought it was a really final ending, which I don't think it
Mhm.
is. Like it I'm
I don't
at
think it is.
all.
I feel like it leaves the door cracked. I don't
It
think they
does.
shut it. I think the
Yeah.
door is cracked though.
Yeah. Like I'm so curious about they've created a world with a lot of room to play. And so
Mhm.
I'm still left with the
A lot of
sense that there's
games to
more
play.
room. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot more games. Um, Second thing, they promote from inside the franchise for future directors, which I think is a big part of why it has the
It's
longevity it
cool.
does. Is
Yep.
like you see
Yep.
people who had other creative roles on the
Mhm.
project from the beginning, like the editor, getting promoted up to director over time. And the third is that they set this wild release pattern that almost no other franchise has ever pulled off of a new Saw every single October around Halloween. And so
Yeah,
they get
'cause
people accustomed to it. It's
yep,
like every Halloween season, I'm gonna get to see Jigsaw again.
yep.
And as you can imagine, this is massively successful, so much so that it is now the fifth highest grossing horror franchise of all time. Um,
Wow.
The Conjuring's at number one, so there's like a lot
Well,
of wand representation in that
yeah.
list. Um, this
It's
this
crazy.
franchise total has earned more than $1 billion
Oh my
from a
god, that's
film made for
insane.
less
Just
than
from
1 mil. Wild.
what a legacy.
Um, there's even there's a Saw the Musical now, which came out in 2003,
Oh, yeah.
2023,
I
which
forgot about
I
that.
know. And like the funniest thing, the reason I had to include this, because like there's obviously so many Saw spin-offs that like there's not time to
Mhm.
talk about them, but I wanted to choose that one because the author of a Joe Blow interview with Lee Wanell that I read from way back in 2004 predicted this, where he said that because of the way Saw is set up, it feels like you could make it a stage play or a musical. And I'm like,
Shut
oh
up. And someone
my
was like,
God.
"Yes, we can."
Hmm. And like again, this is a Joe Blow interview. It ends
Oh my
that interview is
god.
so 2004 that it ends with the
Ugh.
cursed phrase, keep kicking that genre ass, which I now want printed on a shirt.
That's actually I kind of love that. We need to bring that back.
Keep kicking
Yeah.
that genre ass.
If it makes you feel any better, one of the interviews that I read, the interviewer asked, "So where did you find the babes?
My
The
God.
actors, the women actors. Where'd you find the
Oh.
babes?" And
Oh.
Eli Roth is a really good answer of like, "Well, they're really good actors, and we found blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Thank fuck."
I love
But
that. But
I
like,
know, but I was
wow,
like,
what a
it
horrible
was even more
time.
atrocious than that. So yeah, horrible time. So believe you.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Keep kicking ass,
Last
genre
keep
ass.
keep kicking that genre ass.
That's great.
There's also a Saw 11 in the works, which was planned and then canceled and
Ooh.
then kind of reignited when the rights were bought this past fall by Blumhouse. And
Oh.
Jason Blum went on the record that he's planning to bring Juan back in too. So,
Oh, look at Hostel and Saw, like,
I
coming up,
know.
like, 2026
Yeah,
conversations right now.
truly, the
Blumhouse.
I had to hold myself
Smart.
back when you said that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love that. Perfect timing for us.
Mhm. And then I'll just bring in 2, brief little notes from my watch notes, one of which, is that I feel like Jigsaw and the Phantom of the Opera need to have, like, a minis night to relax. Like,
Right?
I feel like that would solve a lot of their problems if they could just
Oh,
get together and,
truly.
like, diorama together a little bit.
Oh
Because
my
we see he's
god.
got, like, the little diorama of the
I mean, like,
bathroom,
did he
like
yeah, the diorama of the bathroom, which I love watching people recreate, which I always forget it's in the film too, and then also, like,
Yeah.
is the Phantom creating the wax figure of Christine? So, like, he could
Who
also do, like, a
knows?
live version of the
There you
victims as
go. Look at
well, you
that.
know?
To practice on. And the last thing is the dignitid of the episode. She turned to me partway through and just says, Saw's just non-consensual predicament bondage.
I mean, truly. Truly. We need to
And
line up
that's
all
what
those
I
posts.
got.
Oh
That's
my
Saw.
gosh.
I won't say that was
So good.
short, but that was the shortest that I felt like I could make it and do
I
justice to
know.
this film.
I'm glad because I was like, I don't think we're gonna be able because even my notes, like, I casually had 12 pages, and
Yeah.
I was like, I had to stop. It didn't feel like I wrote that much, but there was, like, a lot to say about these. I mean, and there should
Yeah.
be because again, these kind of kicked off, like, a whole different
A
type
genre
of
that's got
horror.
a lot more going on underneath the hood than I
I
realized.
know, honestly, for as much as I, like, kind of, attribute to these being films that kind of set me on this different horror
Mhm.
trajectory and, like, kind of shaped who I am and like kind of what I got into from seeing these two movies. Like I never would have gotten into like Rob Zombie films, and I've never would have gotten
Right.
into metal and music, and like I would not be looking the way I look now and interested in the things that we're doing. So yeah, I was surprised to see how much thought and I mean James Wan, I just feel like but for being like, you know, that was his very first film.
Yeah, his first feature.
That's insane. But like I know
Mhm.
him now and I love him now, so I'm not surprised that he was like this early
Yeah.
on. I think that's why he's so good, and honestly why he does so much, and everything he fucking touches is great. If his name's
Yeah.
on it, I'm watching it and I know I'm
Yeah.
going to like it.
You know that,
I
like,
just know.
if it's a horror franchise and he had some involvement, even if it's not your cup of tea, it is
Mhm.
going to be scary. Like, I think
Yeah.
that is just, like, across the board. You can say that of all of his work, and that
Yeah.
there are so few directors you can say that of. Like,
Yeah.
Wes Craven, maybe? But even
Yeah.
Wes Craven, like, doesn't only direct horror, and I'm kind of setting us up here for
Mm.
what we're covering next
Oh my gosh,
time.
yeah. I know I had to
Because
pull mine up
yeah,
what year it was.
I'm oh, yeah, I've
Surprise,
gotta
it's 2005.
scroll I know.
I'm staying in the same year, guys. Is anybody shocked?
I feel like we could have guessed this, yeah. Al is right in their happy
Oh my
place.
god, yeah. Yeah, we're covering I feel like you kind
We're
of paired these two.
yeah, I felt like these have I've only seen Al's film, but I've been really
Mhm.
wanting to see mine because it's come up in, like, a lot of
Yeah.
film theory books that I've
Yeah,
read.
it looks I'm so excited to watch it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So we're doing two voodoo related horror films. Which I had suggested that we do these around Easter because I feel like I feel like zombies and Easter kind of have a lot in common in terms
Yeah.
of like coming back from the
Yeah.
dead. And then I looked up Easter and realized that this episode is actually the one that's closest to it, but like
Whoopsies.
fuck it. We're doing it for Passover instead. How about that? This is our
Yeah.
Passover pairing.
I don't know when
Um,
any of these things happen, so I'm just vibing over here.
I know I should have looked it up beforehand, but I feel like March. I don't know. It has to me. I think this is the right time for it. So we are doing. I'm covering The Serpent and the Rainbow from 1988.
I'm so excited for it. And then I'm doing 2005's The Skeleton Key, which I
Mm-hmm.
just got on DVD today
Ah,
in like preparation.
love.
I found it at my local like record store, so I'm
Oh,
very
that's so
excited. It was
perfect.
meant to be, really.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The universe was pushing us in the direction of this
yeah.
pairing. Well, and I
Yeah.
feel like in my mind, I've been thinking about The Serpent and the Rainbow. It kind of feels to me like it is to Wes Craven's career, kind of what Prince of Darkness is to John Carpenter's, where it's like
Mm,
it's this overlooked horror film by a horror master who kind of
yeah.
went and did something weird and off the wall and in some ways atypical for themselves. And so I'm really
Yeah.
excited for it on that level.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm just excited cuz Daddy Bill Pullman's in
Daddy Bill
here, so
Pullman. Yeah, at
I
his youngest and the
sluttiest, yes.
babyest daddiest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, these are fun. I for like it's gonna be fun too because like Kate Hudson's in Skeleton Key, and like I saw this
Mhm.
one in theaters too. So um yeah, I saw a lot of I had to have seen in theaters a lot of horror this year. I really had not seen saw in theaters the year prior, but this was really like uh one that I loved. Went on a date
Oh,
when I saw this
love.
one. So perfect date
Love.
movie.
Oh my god, that's so cute. Wait, also now as I'm thinking about it, am I doing the math wrong on when Easter is? This might
Listen, I don't
actually be
know.
closer to who cares? Point is we're doing it for spring. Deal with
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say spring. It feels very springy. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
These are good ones though. I'm excited. It's kind of it's been fun to pick and try and like do some ones that we've talked about for a while. I think we've also
Yeah.
brought up Skeleton Key a ton of times. So
Mhm. And we've also
yeah.
I've been really enjoying we've hit some very vastly different corners of this genre over the past few
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, it's actually been like fun to go from musical to then
Yeah.
we went straight torture porn to then like kind of going this I feel like we haven't covered films like these two, so
Yeah, well, and it's been a while since we've done a more supernatural pairing too,
mhm.
which I think
Mhm.
is going to be fun to dive into that.
Yeah, it's super fun. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited about these and
me too.
yeah, what else do we have?
What else
I
do
don't
we
know.
have?
I feel like that's kind
Um,
of it.
Yeah, I think I think we
You know what?
should
I'm gonna wrap this one up. We're
I'm making an
done.
executive decision. Al's got
Um,
a headache still.
I know. I'm
I
like, I
want to give you
wanna.
a chance to rest.
I have Bridgerton to watch. I
Oh my
have
god,
Monarch season
adorable.
2 to watch. I have
Love that for
things
you.
to do and shows to watch. But yeah, no, these were fun, and I'm glad I came out on the other side of my headache with this. So I
I
talked about the
am
torture, and so
too.
I didn't get tortured, so that felt nice.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to pass it off to the characters.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, thanks, Trav, for I don't know, being there on
For
the other end.
mobbaging,
For
yeah.
letting us know
Remind me not to
things
clap
and
loudly into the
stuff.
mic. I really appreciate it. I still did it anyway, but I
Yeah.
tried.
Thanks, Theo, for coming into Theo's cat corner and giving us no
Mhm.
opinion
Oh
today.
my
That's
gosh,
fine.
truly,
She
yeah.
wasn't of age to watch these movies. That's fine.
She
She had
can't
nothing to
watch
say.
NC-17. Also, thank you to Theo Schaefer, who created our wonderful music
Yes.
that
Oh
plays us out.
yeah. Our
I actually thought
music.
that's what you were talking about when you first said Theo, and then I was like, wait, there are 2 Theos involved
Oh
in
my
this
god, yeah,
show.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Oh my
right.
god. It's true.
I know. Somehow
My
I'd never made that connection before,
It's 11
which is very
PM. My
weird.
brain's
Yeah.
foggy, and I did not realize that.
Yikes.
You need to stop, and we need to end this in the
Um,
most chaotic way possible.
Absolutely.
So thanks for listening to
They
Splice Splatter.
Wait, also thank you to all of you for supporting us. And if you have the
Oh my god,
opportunity
yes.
to, please do that. It makes a really big difference to us. There are links in all of our things. We do this all on our own now because we love you and we love these films. And every time one of you is able to like send us some monetary love showing us that you love it too, it means the world to us and we
It
appreciate
helps
it.
a lot.
It really does.
Truly. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to us. I hope you'll
yes.
make it to the end.
Truly.
Um,
I don't know that we did, to be honest.
I told you I wanted this to be chaotic. Started,
There we go.
middle, and ending. So,
Exactly.
Thank
Yeah.
you guys. Hope you have a great week. Hang in there, you know?
Splice and splatter out.
As places let her out. Bye. We'll be back, bros.